Chapter 218. Who do you want to kill? For Qian Buping, it was like meeting an enemy at this moment. He did not expect to meet Qin Sheng, who had been against him for the past few days, here. Although Qin Sheng was a little surprised, he did not show it. He just felt that it was quite interesting. He could meet anyone but Qian Buping. Mr. Qian, how are you? I didn't expect to meet you here. Qin Sheng took the initiative to greet him. Chang Baji did not know Qian Buping. Yuan Ku did not know Qin Sheng either. After seeing Qin Sheng greet him, they realized that they knew each other. Yuan Ku did not care and was ready to leave. Qin Sheng, you are really haunting me. Wherever I go, I run into you. I am really unlucky, Qian Buping said in a strange tone. Qin Sheng had tormented him until he was in a mess. He could not wait to kill Qin Sheng and end all troubles once and for all. Yuan Ku, who was about to leave, looked at Qin Sheng casually. When he heard this, he subconsciously stopped. This young man was Qin Sheng, who had embarrassed Qian Buping. It was really interesting. He met the person he was talking about just now. Yuan Ku turned and looked at Qin Sheng directly. Mr. Qian, you can't blame me for what you said. We all work for our own masters. If you don't do anything wrong during the day, you won't be afraid of ghosts at night. Don't you think so? Qin Sheng retorted. He muttered in his heart, aren't you very powerful? I went to Poly International to find you twice, but you did not give me face. Then I will definitely kill you to warn others. Before Qian Buping responded, Yuan Ku stared at Qin Sheng and said in a low voice, Are you that Qin Sheng? Qin Sheng looked at Yuan Ku and said thoughtfully, I am Qin Sheng. May I know who you are? Since he could drink tea and chat with Qian Buping, he must be Qian Buping's friend or helper. Who is he? You are not qualified to know. Even if Chowda came, he would have to be respectful. Who do you think you are? Qian Buping said confidently. With his brother-in-law's support, even if he beat Qin Sheng today, Qin Sheng would not dare to do anything. Yuan Ku glared at Qian Buping. He smiled at Qin Sheng and said, Young man, the situation in Hangzhou is very complicated. It is not a bad thing to keep a low profile. Sometimes, don't be taken advantage of by others. In the end, you will not even know how you die. After listening to the conversation between Qian Buping and the man in front of him, Qin Sheng seemed to understand. He guessed, if my guess is correct, you should be Uncle Yuan, right? You're quite observant. You're a smart person, Yuan Ku said, not surprised. Qin Sheng said happily, I've heard a lot about you, Uncle Yuan. I didn't expect to meet you here today. If I offended you in any way, please forgive me. However, Uncle Yuan did not take him seriously. He still pretended to be arrogant as he said, I have heard about what happened between you and Buping. If you stop now, I will pretend that nothing has happened. As for what will happen later, it is between Chowda and me. You'd better stay away from it. This will do you no harm. Qin Sheng was indeed a little afraid of a person like Uncle Yuan. After all, he did not want to offend him. However, it was impossible to turn back now. He said helplessly, I don't know what you mean, Uncle Yuan. Young man, don't be too arrogant. Qin Sheng's refusal made Uncle Yuan's expression change slightly. It seemed that this young man really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Uncle Yuan, who did not intend to help Qian Buping at first, suddenly became interested and wanted to see for himself. After hearing this, Qian Buping scolded him without hesitation, Qin Sheng, don't be so shameless. Do you really think that I am afraid of you? Believe it or not, I will kill you. Qian Buping was so flustered and exasperated that he just wanted to irritate Qin Sheng and make him offend his brother-in-law. In this way, the rest of the matter would be easy to handle. He did not need to intervene at all. His brother-in-law would take the lead. Qin Sheng was not afraid of being killed. He had heard such words many times. However, he was not that kind of arrogant young man. Moreover, Yuan Ku, whom even Chowda did not dare to offend, was standing next to him. Naturally, he could not say anything that was too excessive. However, Qin Sheng did not come alone today. Other than him, there was also Xue Qinyan and Su Mushu. At this moment, the two of them had just come out of the bathroom and happened to hear what Qian Buping said to Qin Sheng. Xue Qinyan had promised Qin Sheng that she would protect him in Hangzhou. Qin Sheng had not even been here for half a month, and someone dared to say such words to him. Wasn't this a naked slap in the face? Hence, Xue Qinyan walked out with a pale face. She stared at Qian Buping and said, "Who do you want to kill?" Qian Buping did not know Xue Qinyan. He was not qualified to do so. Even if he had heard of her, they did not have much interaction. Seeing that the two beautiful women who came out should be Qin Sheng's friends, he became more unscrupulous and said, "Who I want to kill, does it have anything to do with you, B***tch? Qian Buping's words were asking for it. Daring to scold Xue Qinyan like this was tantamount to courting death. Xue Qinyan and Su Mushue's expressions changed slightly. Qin Sheng was also a little annoyed. "You can scold me, but if you dare to scold my sister, I don't care who you are." However, before Qin Sheng could make a move, when Qian Buping had just finished speaking, Yuan Ku, who had already seen Xue Qinyan's face clearly, turned pale with fright. He directly slapped Qian Buping's face. "If you want to die, don't drag me into it." Qian Buping did not expect such a situation to occur. He was dumbfounded by Yuan Ku's slap. He turned his head and stared at Yuan Ku with a long face. "Brother-in-law, what did I do?" Yuan Ku did not give him an explanation at all. Immediately after, he kicked his chest. Qian Buping was directly kicked out and lay on the ground, moaning in pain. He felt that the whole world had collapsed. What the hell was going on? After taking care of Qian Buping, Yuan Ku bowed slightly, nodded and bowed and said, "Miss Xue, I'm sorry. There's something wrong with my brother-in-law's brain. His words are not reliable. Please don't lower yourself to his level." Qin Sheng felt that this scene was very funny. Just now, Yuan Ku's unmoved manner had made Qin Sheng feel that he was very awesome. How did he turn into a flattering dog in the blink of an eye? The speed at which he changed his attitude was really fast. "I've long heard that Boss Yuan is quite famous in Hangzhou. Today I've finally seen it for myself." The moment he spoke, he wanted to kill my brother and even scolded me as a B***tch. I, Xue Qinyan, have lived in Hangzhou for so many years, but this is the first time I've seen something like this, Xue Qinyan sneered, not taking Yuan Ku seriously at all. Yuan Ku had already cursed 18 generations of Qian Buping's ancestors in his heart. This was King digging a pit for him. This Qin Sheng was actually Xue Qinyan's brother. Why the hell didn't you tell me earlier? Miss Xue, you must be joking. It's all a misunderstanding. I'll ask him to apologize to you and your brother right away. Yuan Ku's face was full of embarrassment. He signaled the bodyguards behind him with his eyes, and the two of them immediately pulled Qian Buping up. Yuan Ku glared at Qian Buping angrily. If he still wanted to live well, he should do as I said. He snorted coldly and said, "You are blind. Quickly apologize to Miss Xue and Assistant Qin. If you do this again, I'll break your legs first." Even though Qian Buping was very unwilling in his heart, what else could he do? As a man in his 40s, he had to lower his head to two young people. However, this society paid attention to strength. Even though he did not know the identity of the other party, even his brother-in-law had become so humble. Who was he? Qian Buping had no choice but to throw caution to the wind. He directly slapped himself in the face and said, "Miss Xue, it's all my fault. I hope you can forgive me. Assistant Qin, please don't take what I did to you in the past too seriously. I'm just a nobody. I bully the weak and fear the strong, and I don't know what's good for me. I hope you can forgive me." Power was really a good thing. The two people who had been acting all high and mighty just now were now in such a state. It was really a sigh. There were already quite a number of people in the corridor of the private room who were watching the show. No one knew what had happened. "All right, don't embarrass yourself here," Xue Qinyan said disapprovingly. Yuan Ku immediately understood and hurriedly thanked her. "Miss Xue, I'm really sorry. I'll hold a banquet to apologize to you and Assistant Qin another day. I hope you can do me the honor." Xue Qinyan would definitely not go. She said in a deep voice, "No need. I can't afford Boss Yuan's food. However, I'll remember what you said just now. If anything happens to my brother, don't worry. I'll definitely look for you first." "Miss Xue, you must be joking," Yuan Ku said with a face full of smiles. It had been some time since he had acted like this. He had really embarrassed himself today. It was all Qian Buping's fault. F***CKU. Xue Qinyan could not be bothered with these people anymore. She looked at the trio and said softly, "Let's go. I didn't check the almanac when I went out today." Xue Qinyan and the rest left. Having lost so much face, Yuan Ku was too embarrassed to go out like this. He directly returned to the private room. Qian Buping was also dragged in by the two bodyguards. The waiters were all chased out, and the door of the private room was tightly shut. After entering, Yuan Ku directly punched Qian Buping's face again and said angrily, "If it wasn't for your sister, I would have thrown you into the Qiantang River to feed the fishes today. Do you know who that woman is? You even dared to call her AB***TCH. I think you must be tired of living." "Brother-in-law, I'm wrong. I'm really wrong." Qian Buping, who had been beaten to the ground, crawled over and hugged Yuan Ku's leg. If he still did not understand what was going on, he would really be an idiot. Obviously, he had offended a big shot today. No matter what, he had to be tied to his brother-in-law. Otherwise, it would be like a game for him to be dealt with. Yuan Ku kicked him away and said, "Even if you want to die, don't F***king set me up. You haven't even figured out that young man's identity and background, and you dare to ask me to help you. Aren't you trying to kill me? If I really did something to him, the Xue family would play me to death. By then, even my foster father might not be able to protect me." Yuan Ku was really angry. After he calmed down, he felt that this matter was really not that simple. He was more or less to blame. This Qin Sheng had the confidence to face Qian Buping directly. He clearly knew that Yuan Ku was behind Qian Buping and still wanted to deal with Qian Buping. This meant that he had the confidence and was not reckless. He should have thought more at that time, but he only thought of Chowda. Chapter 219. Meeting again. Chowda and Yuan Ku had a good relationship in the past. The two of them could be considered friends for many years. Moreover, the path they took at the beginning was similar. Hence, Yuan Ku was the second shareholder of Yuanda Holdings. He also had a lot of shares in the subsidiary companies. It was just that Chowda gradually changed his direction, especially after he fell seriously ill 2 years ago. He gradually withdrew from the circle of fame and fortune in the business world. On the other hand, because Yuan Ku hooked up with his foster father, things had been smooth sailing these few years. His business grew bigger and bigger, and the level of his business was getting higher and higher. Perhaps it was because they had different goals, the differences between the two of them gradually widened. In the end, they did not see each other much. After Chowda did not care about Yuanda, Yuan Ku started to think about Yuanda. After all, the difference in strength was too big now. Yuan Ku had no fear towards Chowda at all. However, there was a change now. The Xue family and Chowda were connected. If Yuan Ku wanted to trick Chowda again, he would have to think twice. The farce ended. Xue Qinyan only showed up and helped Qin Sheng set up a protective umbrella. No matter how bold Qian Buping was, he would not dare to find trouble with Qin Sheng. Hence, Qin Sheng completed his mission and got away successfully. After eating with Xue Qinyan and Su Muxue, Qin Sheng and Chang Baji came back. Xue Qinyan and Su Muxue went shopping. Qin Sheng did not want to be a coolie. Qin Sheng asked Changbaji to go back to Tianmu Mountain. Now, he could let Feng Qin go and hide for a while. Qin Sheng subconsciously felt that if Chao De really took down Qian Buping and the gang, there would definitely be a lot of vacancies in Yuanda. By then, he could let Changbaji and Hao Lei stay in Hangzhou. In addition, Changbaji could borrow 2 disciples from his senior. He would have a direct line of support in Hangzhou. This way, the road ahead would be easier. Changbaji drove Xia Ding's car away. Qin Sheng returned to the company directly. Now that he had confidence in the company, he did not need to care about Qian Buping, LV Shimen, and the gang. He called Yu Qian and the other secretaries over and said bluntly, "If you still want to stay in Yuanda, you will answer whatever I ask you today." Yu Qian, who was dressed in professional attire, frowned and said, "Assistant Qin, what do you mean by this? I'll give you one more chance. I don't care whose side you're on, and I don't care who you'll tell when you walk out of this door. But now, if any of you think too much, I can tell you that you don't have to come to work tomorrow. You can take this as Mr. Chao's intention," Qin Sheng said with a gloomy face. If he could not even take down these few people in the office in the company, then he really had no one else he could use. Yu Qian narrowed her eyes and said, "We only serve President Chao. If this is President Chao's intention, then go ahead and ask." For the whole afternoon, Qin Sheng stayed in the office and let Yu Qian and the other secretaries talk about the problems of every department leader and the person in charge of the subsidiary companies of Yuanda, including the problems and loopholes of the group, what doubts they had before and so on. Why did Qin Sheng do that? It was to prepare for the upcoming purge. As long as Chao De took down Qian Buping and his gang, the others would naturally understand what was going on. Qin Sheng did not play games with them. Everyone stayed with a clear conscience. As long as there was a problem, if they did not take the initiative to confess, then they would go through the formal procedures. When it was almost time to get off work, Qin Sheng called Yu Qian to the office. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the well-developed Yu Qian. This made Yu Qian feel a little scared. She said cautiously, "Assistant Qin, what's the matter?" Qin Sheng chuckled and said, "Yu Qian, you don't seem to trust me. Or do you think that it's impossible for me to move the stagnant Yuanda?" "Assistant Qin, you think too much," Yu Qian said politely. But to be honest, she really did not want to get involved in the fight between Qin Sheng and Yuanda. Qin Sheng waved his hand to stop Yu Qian and said, "Yu Qian, but I hope that you'd better not be the worst kind of person I think. Otherwise, I won't be soft-hearted to women." Yu Qian's expression changed slightly. She was really scared by Qin Sheng. Chao De did not have any tasks today. She reckoned that he was still thinking about how to deal with Qian Buping and his gang. Qin Sheng would not tell Chao De about the little episode that happened. That was his business. After work, Qin Sheng had nothing to do. His wife was not at home, so he did not want to go home. He casually found a roadside stall and settled his dinner. He called his wife to express his condolences and flattered her by saying that she had worked hard for the charity work of the motherland. His wife teased him a little, but Qin Sheng was very happy in his heart. Xue Qinyan asked Qin Sheng to visit an old man tomorrow morning. But she did not tell Qin Sheng the identity and background of this old man. Qin Sheng was very grateful to Xue Qinyan. He had only put in a little effort, but what he got was a mountain full of peach blossoms. Since he had nothing to do, Qin Sheng strolled to the Huanglong Sports Center. He went to the nightclub that was doing well and strolled around. He did not look for the person in charge there. He just casually stayed for a while and finally came to Guangyin. There was still no performance at Guangyin tonight. Only the band and singers that usually stayed there were there to show their musical talent. Qin Sheng was very curious. Guangyin's environment and equipment were good, and the quality of the service staff was also not bad. Why was the business so bad? Or was this kind of livehouse not suitable for the land of Hangzhou? Not long after Qin Shing sat down, Yu Xiao, who was there every day, walked over and teased, "Are you still not drinking tonight?" "My wife is not here, I can drink 2 glasses of beer," Qin Shing said casually. Yu Xiao was indeed an interesting person. Qin Shing did not deny his love for music, but he was not a talent for operation. Hence, Yu Xiao ordered the waiter to bring a few bottles of Corona. Qin Shing added ice cubes and clinked glasses with Yu Xiao. He then said, "Old Yu, why is Guangyin's business so bad? This can't do." The look in Yu Xiao's eyes changed slightly. "Assistant Qin, just say what you want to say. I'm not that pretentious." "Then I'll be honest. I don't think it's good that Guangyin has been operating for so long and has been making losses. There's no doubt that Mr. Chao and Chao Zhang appreciate your musical talent, but you didn't bring them any profits. What they invested was real money. Everything has an end. If one day Mr. Chao quits Yuanda, what will happen to Guangyin? I don't think any boss would keep it," Qin Shing said without hiding anything. Yu Xiao was a little embarrassed, but he had to admit that this was the truth. Without the support of the father and son of the Chao family, Guangyin might have closed down a long time ago. He would not have such a working environment and treatment, nor would he be accompanied by music and fine wine. Sigh, Assistant Qin, I also have my difficulties. You also know that after Mr. Chao left Guangyin alone for the past 2 years, the company basically did not care about Guangyin. I have the will, but the ability, Yu Xiao said with a sigh. Qin Sheng was very direct. I think this is one of the reasons, but the other reason is that your thinking is a little conservative. You don't know the specific operation and management, but in terms of music, you are definitely a professional. Qin Sheng's words were more direct, but Yu Xiao nodded and said, I agree with this. So, if Guangyin wants to continue, we have to make changes. After the company's recent affairs are over, I want to make an overall adjustment to Guangyin. Old Yu, do you have any objections? Qin Sheng said casually. Yu Xiao stared at Qin Sheng and did not say anything. Qin Sheng said very directly, I want to find a professional operation talent for Guangyin, who knows how to build Guangyin into a brand, and let it become a business card of Hangzhou Live House, different from the bars in Huanglong Sports Center. When people mention Live House, the first thing they think of is Guangyin. You will still be in charge of the overall situation, but mainly in charge of music. I will contact a well-known music management company in the country, and guarantee that Guangyin will have 1 or 2 professional performances every week for a year. The rest of the time, you can leave it to local musicians or bands in Hangzhou, or to those bands and musicians that are less popular in the country. After Yu Xiao heard this, although he was a little uncomfortable, he knew that Qin Sheng was doing this for Guangyin, and what he had to overcome was the selfishness in his heart. After all, he treated Guangyin as his own territory. Whether you agree or not, this is what I will definitely do. Think about it. At your age, sometimes you would rather stay where you are than take a step forward. This is psychological inertia. Qin Sheng stared at Yu Xiao and said. Yu Xiao said thoughtfully, let me think about it. When Yu Xiao lowered his head and was deep in thought, Qin Sheng noticed a strange acquaintance sitting at the bar of Guangyin. She was wearing a floral dress, clean and neat. She ordered a cocktail and squinted at the singer on the stage. It seemed that there were already experienced hunters in the bar who had noticed this beauty and were thinking about how to go over and strike up a conversation. Qin Sheng did not greet Yu Xiao. He slowly walked over with a glass of beer in his hand and sat directly next to the beauty. He smiled and said, Do you think I believe in our fate, or did you find this place specifically? Think whatever you think. The beauty turned around and stared at Qin Sheng, saying with a smile in her eyes. This beautiful woman was none other than Qin Ran, who had come to Hangzhou from Beijing because she missed her brother. She had just arrived in the evening. After leaving her things at the hotel, she directly asked for Qin Sheng's location and ran over. After seeing Qin Sheng in Xiamen, she finally solved her years of worry and eased the pain of missing him. However, not long after returning to Beijing, she missed her brother again. Unfortunately, there were too many things to do and she had some scruples. That was why she came to Hangzhou after such a long time. Qin Xing joked, "I'm very curious. Is your dead friend your boyfriend? Is it because I look like him that you are looking for me?" Qin Ran really wanted to knock on her glib brother's head. What kind of mess was he thinking? However, she resisted this impulse and just drank her beer, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. After Yu Yixiao came to his senses, he noticed that Qin Xing had run to the bar and sat next to a beautiful woman. He could not help but laugh. This man was really capable. "Why don't I see your beautiful girlfriend?" Qin Ran said half-jokingly. She did not want anything now. She just wanted to start from being ordinary friends with her brother. Qin Xing said happily, "If she were here, I wouldn't dare to sit next to you. I don't want to go home and kneel on the washboard." "Is she so stingy?" Qin Ran said with a smile. Qin Xing laughed and said, "She is not stingy. I am timid. I am a loser. How can I find such a girlfriend? I am so happy when I sleep at night. If I don't serve her well, what if she dumps me one day?" Qin Ran was obviously not familiar with Qin Xing's way of talking. She looked at Qin Xing in surprise. Qin Xing laughed and said, "You really believe it? I think I am a beauty. Men are all playboys. You talk about your girlfriend in front of me. Obviously, you are not interested in me. Do you think I am not charming enough?" Qin Ran pouted and sighed. Qin Xing shook his head and said, "I don't know. To be honest, when I saw you for the first time, I felt a sense of déjà vu. It was not because we had met once, but I couldn't remember where we had met. The feeling you gave me was very strange. I don't know how to describe it." Qin Xing shook his head and said, "I don't know." Qin Ran's face changed slightly, but her body trembled a little. Maybe this was family love. No matter how many people there were, they could recognize each other when they met again. Qin Ran wanted to talk to her brother alone, but the bar was too noisy, so she took the initiative to invite him. "If it is possible, do you mind going out with me?" Qin Xing was a little surprised, but he nodded in the end. "I am happy to help you, beautiful woman." So Qin Ran paid the bill and left Guangyin with Qin Xing. Qin Xing even forgot to say goodbye to Yu Yixiao. Chapter 220. Too tired, for men, the bar was a place for beauties and wine. Both could get people drunk. Under the influence of alcohol, men searched for their prey. Qin Ran naturally became the focus of the bar. However, this beauty was too cold. Everyone was eager to try, but no one took the initiative. In the end, Qin Xing got there first. Everyone regretted it. Qin Ran was wearing a floral dress and a pair of crystal high-heeled sandals. She had long wavy hair, and carried a black chain bag with an unknown brand. She crossed her arms and walked slowly in the Huanglong Sports Center. With her outstanding temperament, she was the scenery everywhere she went. It was cool and breezy in Hangzhou tonight. It was not as hot as the previous 2 days. The weather forecast said it might rain. "Qin Xing, where are you from?" Qin Ran chatted casually, but she asked a question that she already knew the answer to. Qin Xing followed Qin Ran closely. Although it was only the second time they met, he had an inexplicable sense of intimacy towards her. If he met a beauty on normal days, he would more or less have a deep-rooted human nature. Other than appreciation, he would also have a desire to conquer. However, in front of this beauty, he did not know why he could not find this feeling. Maybe it was because he sympathized with her. After all, he looked quite similar to her lost friend. When she saw him, she might be more sad. "I'm from Xi'an," Qin Xing said softly. Qin Ran laughed and said, "That's quite interesting. Xi'an people first came to Xiamen and now to Hangzhou. Why don't you want to stay at home? I heard that people in Xi'an are very homesick. This way they can take care of their parents." Qin Shing sighed and said, I'm half an orphan. I've never seen my parents. I depended on my grandfather since I was a child. When I was in school, I was fostered in my adoptive parents' home. I grew up in Xi'an and went to college in Shanghai. After graduation, my grandfather passed away. I went to many places without any worries. Last year, I came back to Shanghai and stayed for less than half a year. Because of some things, I had to leave. I was injured and have been recuperating in Xiamen. A few days ago, I recovered and came to Hangzhou to develop. People like me are the same everywhere. I have a lot of friends here to help me. It's easier for me to stand out. Although Qin Shing said it in a relaxed manner, Qin Ran did not feel good when she heard it. If it was not because of the circumstances, who would not like to live a simple life and wander from place to place? She felt that things were not that simple. Why did Qin Shing want to leave Shanghai? Why did he get injured? These were all questions. Obviously, Qin Chang'an had kept it from her. I didn't expect you to have it so hard, just like my friend. But no matter what, life will never abandon you. The only one who can abandon yourself is yourself. I believe that sooner or later, you will definitely be successful. Qin Ran comforted her brother. If he had been living in Beijing, his life would not have been so difficult. Don't you have any siblings? Qin Ran continued to ask. The two of them chatted as they walked. The cold wind blew Qin Ran's skirt and hair into a mess, making her feel more down to earth. At this time, they had already walked out of the Huanglong Sports Center and headed for the West Lake. It would be cooler by the lake tonight. We've talked so much, but I still don't know how to address you. It's weird. My name is Qin Shing, what about you? Qin Shing suddenly remembered and said. Qin Ran smiled coquettishly and said, You just found out? You didn't ask me. That's true. Qin Shing scratched his head and said. Qin Ran thought for a while and said, You can call me Sister Ran, the Ran from the Rising Ran. Then he smiled and answered Qin Ran's question just now. Sister Ran, don't forget that my grandfather and I depend on each other. I definitely don't have any biological siblings, but there is a younger sister in my adoptive parents' family. I treat her as my biological sister. It used to be like this, and it will be like this in the future. That family treats me as their own, giving me warmth and a family. I can't repay this kindness in my life. In addition, there are a few brothers who are also very good to me. They have been best friends for many years. Last year, I met a sister in Shanghai, who also treats me as a younger brother and helps me a lot. So I think I'm very lucky. Qin Ran felt sad and gratified at the same time. In the end, she was a little jealous. She comforted him and said, When God closes a door, He will definitely open a window. I can see that you are kind-hearted. It can be considered a blessing for yourself. When Qin Shing called her sister Ran, Qin Ran was very touched. She hadn't heard Qin Shing call her sister for many years. Although many people called her sister in life, Qin Ran always felt that this title only belonged to her younger brother. Qin Ran's eyes turned red inexplicably, but she laughed at herself for being useless and forced herself to calm down. Ha ha, although I'm not kind-hearted, I think I have a clear conscience. Qin Shing laughed out loud, as if he was trying to flatter himself. Qin Ran changed the topic and asked casually, I don't think your girlfriend is a child from an ordinary family. I didn't expect you to be so capable. Tell me, how did you get her? Qin Shing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Sister Ran, how should I say this? I don't know how to explain it. Maybe I'm really lucky. My girlfriend's family is really good. They are a big family in Ningbo and have a high status among the businessmen in Zhujiang. As for me, I'm just a poor loser with no car or house. We've been through a lot of setbacks to get to where we are today. But she sacrificed too much. She followed me from place to place and suffered a lot. I always feel sorry for her. Hearing what Qin Shing said, Qin Ran felt very sad. She really wanted to say, Brother, You are not a poor loser with nothing. You are the only man in the Qin family. Only you look down on others, but you don't deserve anyone. Qin Ran sighed with emotion from the bottom of her heart as she said, "It seems that there is true love between the two of you. However, your girlfriend is not an ordinary woman. She must have a lot of courage and determination to choose you under such circumstances. You should cherish her." She also thanked Lin Su silently in her heart. She thanked her for taking care of Qin Sheng on behalf of the Qin family and for doing everything for Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng continued, "I never thought that I could get her, and I didn't think that she would say yes. We had an experience together 3 years ago. But after that, we didn't contact each other for 2 years. Although I already liked her at that time, I still had my own things to do. So did she. After we met again last year, I felt that I couldn't let her go. No matter what the final result was, I should work hard, so that I wouldn't have any regrets in life. She had a lot of pursuers. To put it bluntly, how could I be compared with her pursuers? But she chose me. Everyone thought it was unbelievable, including me. But she said that it was fate and also her life. What happened after that was not so romantic. Her family would not agree to it no matter what. Her friends did not think highly of her. Her pursuers tried to stop her in every possible way, but she still insisted on her own choice. She almost broke up with everyone. Hence, we went to shaman later. It could be said that we avoided everything. Now we are living a stable life in Hangzhou." "I didn't expect you to go through so much," Qin Ran said in surprise. She admired Lin Su even more. Such a woman was a man's dream, but she didn't expect her brother to meet her. It could be considered his blessing. Qin Sheng sighed and said, "Life is about experience. The more you experience, the more you understand, and the more you cherish everything that is hard to come by." "What you said is quite philosophical," Qin Ran said with a smile. Qin Sheng said proudly, "What do you think? I'm a top student in the philosophy department of Fudan University." "Ha ha ha ha, okay, you are a professional," Qin Ran echoed. It was rare to see Qin Sheng's mischievous side. However, Qin Ran felt a little stifled in her heart, because today's brother was completely different from when he was young. In the past, he was full of innocence and nature, and always had a cute smile on his face. But today's brother did not make people feel that kind of vitality. He was much more mature than his peers, and full of pressure. Qin Sheng changed the topic and asked, "Sister Ran, let's talk about you. You have been talking about me." "Me? My life isn't as tortuous as yours. I've lived a pampered life since I was a child. I've been spoiled and loved by everyone. No matter what I want, I can get it. No matter where I want to go, I can go. No one forces me to do anything I don't want to do. My life should be the life that all women envy. Except for the accident that happened to my family when I was young, I have almost never encountered any setbacks in my life," Qin Ran said honestly. This was her life. Other than controlling her general direction, Qin Chang'an never cared about her other things. He did not force her to learn or do anything. She did many things voluntarily. When she was in school, she basically lived with her grandmother. She would only go home occasionally because she felt that the house was too cold. After graduation, she lived alone. Everything was ordinary and there were no ups and downs. And her brother was supposed to have the same life as her, but in the end, his life became the opposite. Qin Sheng thought so. Last time, Lin Su said that she was not an ordinary woman. Her family should be very rich. It could also be seen that ordinary women would not have such temperament and clothes. Qin Sheng laughed and said, "It's pretty good. It's normal for a man to suffer. As for a woman, she should be comfortable and happy." Qin Ran said mysteriously, "Qin Sheng, if one day your life becomes like this, what will you do?" Qin Sheng did not know what Qin Ran meant. He said casually, "Sister Ran, I never daydream. I have not even bought a lottery ticket. I don't have that kind of life. Only by working hard can I live such a life. Actually, I thought that no matter how I live my life, I am not afraid of suffering and being looked down upon. But I don't want the people around me to suffer, and I don't want them to be bullied. Especially my girlfriend. I don't want others to say that the man she found is useless and useless. Since she chose me, I should give her a wonderful life. So I have to work hard and fight. Moreover, men should not be willing to be mediocre. Even if they are losers, they must fight back. At the end of his words, Qin Sheng was full of confidence. He could feel the spirit radiating from his body. This was what a young man should look like. He should not be greedy for comfort and enjoyment at the age of struggle. Chapter 221. A sudden clap of thunder. An ordinary person would either live comfortably in the first half of his life and suffer in the second half of his life, or suffer in the first half of his life and live comfortably in the second half of his life. There were only those who suffered for a lifetime, but never those who enjoyed for a lifetime. Therefore, a young man should strive hard when he was young. Only in this way could he live a wonderful life and find the value of existence. If he was too comfortable when he was young, then it was very likely that he would be wasted in this life. By the time he woke up, it might be too late. You don't have the energy, you don't have the environment, and you don't have the determination and courage. You will be like this for the rest of your life. Qin Sheng was different from ordinary people. He thought that his life must be wonderful, not ordinary and mediocre. He could accept failure and mediocrity after hard work, so that he would not have any regret. But he could not accept mediocrity without hard work. For him, only by being unwilling to be mediocre could he make the strongest counterattack. But for Qin Ran, her brother's life should not be like this. His life should be like hers, without any pressure to survive and to enjoy all the beauty in the world. Now hearing Qin Sheng's attitude towards life, Qin Ran felt very sad. But then she saw the rare and precious side of her brother, who was much better than those rich playboys in Siju City. She felt somewhat relieved. But she felt that Qin Sheng was shouldering too much responsibility and pressure. It would be very tiring. She felt sorry for him. Qin Sheng, I believe in you. Sooner or later, you will be outstanding. Come on, Qin Ran said emotionally. She even called herself sister subconsciously, even she did not realize it. Qin Sheng did not notice anything strange. He smiled and said, Sister Ran, I still have a long way to go. But as long as I am alive, I will not give up. This is the path I have chosen. Even if I have to kneel down, I will stick to it. Qin Ran did not know why she looked at her brother with some admiration. The love in her eyes could be seen by anyone. Qin Sheng was a little embarrassed and quickly changed the topic. Sister Ran, how long will you be in Hangzhou? Are you on a business trip or did you come to see me? Qin Ran felt funny, but she could only lie. You are not that charming. I have some things to deal with in Hangzhou, and I have to go to Shanghai tomorrow. I should have gone earlier, but I delayed it until now. Qin Ran went to Shanghai to tell her grandma the good news. Of course, she wouldn't tell her grandma directly that her favorite grandson had been found. She would only tell her grandma that there was news about her brother. The old man had been thinking about this for many years. When his mother passed away and his younger brother went missing, the old man was devastated. His grandfather died 2 years later. As a result, the relationship between the Zhu family and the Qin family was very stiff. Everyone felt sorry for her, but they had always been disgusted with Qin Chang'an. Qin Sheng did not know whether Qin Ran was telling the truth or not. He chuckled and said, I thought you came here specially for me. You wish, Qin Ran said with a smile. Qin Sheng said thoughtfully, Sister Ran, but you are quite capable. You actually found me in Hangzhou. It seems that you are definitely not an ordinary person. Otherwise, you would not have such great power. I can't guarantee anything if it's too difficult. But it's easy for me to find you. Qin Ran smiled disapprovingly. Qin Sheng said happily, Well, it seems that we will meet many times in the future. How about this, you keep my phone number? If you really want to see me, just give me a call. I will wait for you, so that you don't have to go through so much trouble. That's the best. Qin Ran was very satisfied. In this way, she could have more in-depth communication with Qin Sheng in the future, which was helpful to the development of their relationship. After leaving their contact information, Qin Ran could not wait to add Qin Sheng on WeChat. This trip to Hangzhou was full of harvest. She chuckled and said, "Well, Qin Sheng, it's late. I have to go back to the hotel. If you don't mind, you can send me back." Qin Sheng chuckled and said, "It's my pleasure." After sending Qin Ran back to the Four Seasons Hotel at Westlake, Qin Sheng directly took a taxi back to the Golden Coast. In the morning, Qin Sheng, who did not run, read in the study. It started to rain last night. The whole Hangzhou was not so stuffy anymore. The air was full of the smell of soil. At 8 o'clock, Xue Qinyan had already arrived at the apartment building to pick Qin Sheng up. Qin Sheng changed his clothes and went downstairs. There was a brand new Toyota Alpha parked at the door. Qin Sheng hurriedly put away his umbrella and got into the car. After getting into the car, Qin Sheng said with a smile, "Sister, I can drive there by myself. You still have to come to pick me up. Aren't you making me shorten my life?" Xue Qinyan rolled her eyes at Qin Sheng and said, "I know that you have a sweet mouth. No wonder you can cheat Lin Su. If I were a few years younger, I would probably be cheated by you. You make me sound like a rapist." Qin Sheng curled his lips and said, "If I can cheat you, sister, I won't have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of my life. I can only enjoy the happiness of leisure. It's a pity that I don't have this blessing." Xue Qinyan said without warning, "What if I give you a chance? Master, how much does this car cost? It's quite comfortable to sit in." Qin Sheng quickly changed the topic. He did not dare to continue talking about it. Miss Chong Sam had a high IQ. She might set a trap for him. The driver did not know what was going on. He thought that Qin Sheng wanted to buy the car. He smiled and said, "Imported Toyota Alpha, 900,000. But this car is quite popular. If you want to buy it now, you have to increase the price by 200,000 or 300,000. Qin Sheng originally thought that it was just a casual nanny car. He was stunned and said, "Oh my God, so expensive. It's a pity that I can't even afford a wheel." The driver was also stunned and did not know how to respond. Xue Qinyan, who was beside him, was already smiling. The old man that Xue Qinyan wanted to bring Qin Sheng to lived on the tea mountain in Maijiao. The last time Qin Sheng came to Hangzhou, he stayed in Maijiao for a few days. But at that time, he was very embarrassed and did not have time to enjoy the scenery of Maijiao. Today, sitting in the car, Qin Sheng, who had nothing to do, admired Maijiao in the rain. A tea mountain, surrounded by clouds and mist, was green and leisurely. It gave him a feeling that he did not need to return to the slanting wind and drizzle. Qin Sheng liked this feeling very much. It seemed that he had found the memories of the rainy days in Zhongnan Mountains. His grandfather sat under the eaves and played the eru. Qin Sheng looked at the empty mountain after the rain. The sound of the eru and the rain complemented each other and finally disappeared in the mountains. The old man they were going to visit lived on the tea mountain. There was a courtyard designed by a famous designer for the old man. The old man lived here most of the time. He drank tea, practiced calligraphy, enjoyed the scenery, received guests, and occasionally went out to travel. The length of time was unknown. When the Toyota Alpha stopped at the entrance of the courtyard, Qin Sheng could not help but mutter, "Sister, to visit this senior, shouldn't we bring something? I've already brought it. It's also the thing that the old man is most interested in. You don't have to worry about it." Xue Qinyan deliberately kept him in suspense. Qin Sheng nodded silently. However, after getting off the car, he did not see Xue Qinyan bring anything out at all. He was a little puzzled. Could it be something smaller? At the entrance, there were two doormen in green robes. They had already walked over with umbrellas. They quickly held up the umbrellas for Qin Sheng and Xue Qinyan. This kind of antique old courtyard with these doormen in green robes made people feel that they had returned to the ancient times. It was just that their hairstyles did not match. The two doormen were not young. Qin Sheng also did not know their identities. He just followed Xue Qinyan and walked into the courtyard under the guidance of the two doormen. The design of the entire courtyard was very particular. There were green bricks and gray tiles, a small bridge over flowing water, water terraces and pavilions, stone slabs and green paths. Almost all the houses were made of brick and wood. There were carvings on the pillars, eaves and beams, etc. There were different rockery or gardening products placed everywhere in the courtyard. It seemed that any place could become a unique scenery. They did not enter the house. They just walked along a small path in the courtyard, passed through a few doors, and finally arrived at the back of the courtyard. At this moment, the old man was practicing calligraphy under a pavilion. There was no barrier around the pavilion, so he could overlook the scenery of Maijiawu. At this time, Maijiawu in the rain could be seen in the panoramic view. There were two beautiful women in Chong Sams standing beside him. There were also two doormen in green robes. They could even hear the melodious sound of the guzheng. This artistic conception was really awesome. "Sir, the guests are here." The doorman stepped forward and said softly in a well-behaved manner. The old man put down his brush and ink. He turned his head and looked at Qin Sheng and Xue Qinyan with a smile. Qin Sheng said, "Qinyan and little Qin are here." After Qin Sheng saw the old man's appearance clearly, he then realized that the person Xue Qinyan wanted to bring him to see was Master Lu, whom he had met once in Changshan Ruoshui. He did not expect that Master Lu was living in Hangzhou. "Uncle Lu," Xue Qinyan said politely. Qin Sheng slightly lowered his head and said, "Master Lu." The old man seemed to be only 60 years old, but in fact, he was already 70 years old. That was why Xue Qinyan called him Uncle Lu. It was only because the old man paid more attention to health and exercise that he looked so young. The silver-haired Master Lu said casually, "Little Qin, why didn't you come to visit this old man when you came to Hangzhou? Let me do my best as a host." Qin Sheng said honestly, "Master Lu, I didn't know that you were in Hangzhou. Moreover, I just came to Hangzhou not long ago." "Qinyan, this is your fault." Master Lu looked at Xue Qinyan and said with a smile. Xue Qinyan said naturally, "I was afraid that Qin Sheng would disturb your peace. Little Qin, I heard from Qinyan that your calligraphy is good. What do you think of my calligraphy?" Master Lu took a few steps back and reached out his hand to ask Qin Sheng to come up and take a closer look. Qin Sheng quickly declined and said, "Master Lu, I just have nothing to do in my daily life. It's not easy for me to go up to the Hall of Elegance. I dare not talk about your calligraphy." The old master pointed at Qin Sheng and said, "Little Qin, you are too modest. I have seen your calligraphy. The reason why I asked Qinyan to bring you here is that I want to communicate with you. To be honest, people think that the older you are, the better your calligraphy will be. In fact, I think that is taking advantage of your seniority. At least after I have seen your calligraphy, I admit that I am inferior." Qin Sheng was surprised. When did Sister Xue see his calligraphy? It seemed that she had no impression of it. Xue Qinyan did not explain. She just stood not far away with a smile and let Qin Sheng and Master Lu communicate with each other. This old man was not simple in Hangzhou. Qin Sheng said with interest, "I think that when it comes to self-cultivation, if you deliberately compare yourself with others, you will lose first." "Well said." Master Lu praised him. But then he said, "Qin Sheng, your calligraphy is really good. What makes me more curious is that your calligraphy is quite similar to a piece of calligraphy that I have collected. I don't know if you are related to this senior." "Master Lu is talking about?" Qin Sheng asked curiously. His calligraphy was copied in the Balin Museum for a few years. The rest was taught by his grandfather's words and deeds. Finally, he had achieved what he had today. Master Lu said to the doorman not far away, "Please bring out my treasured calligraphy." The two doormen immediately picked up the red sandalwood box next to them and opened it slowly. They took out the calligraphy inside and then opened it under Master Lu's signal. Qin Sheng and Xue Qinyan looked curious. Qin Sheng stared at it. When the calligraphy just revealed its true appearance, Qin Sheng's eyes were just a little confused. When the calligraphy slowly unfolded, Qin Sheng's face was immediately filled with astonishment. When he saw the signature at the end, Qin Sheng was completely shocked. He said subconsciously, "This is my grandfather's calligraphy." His words were like a clap of thunder. Chapter 222. Surprise and loss. Master Lu said that his treasured calligraphy and Qin Sheng's calligraphy were quite similar. Qin Sheng was puzzled at that time and guessed that it might be his grandfather's calligraphy, but he thought that his grandfather would not have any interaction with Master Lu, so he just thought about it. But when Master Lu took out this calligraphy, Qin Sheng became more and more confused. Why did it feel so familiar? Could it really be his grandfather's calligraphy? When he saw the unique inscription at the end, Qin Sheng could not help but exclaim. Because only his grandfather understood the meaning of the inscription, even he himself did not know. Because the inscription was in 4 oracle bone script, and it was an untranslated oracle bone script. Master Lu did not expect to have such an adventure today. When Xue Qinyan sent the photo of Qin Sheng's calligraphy to him, he felt strange at that time. It was very similar to the calligraphy treasures of an otherworldly master that he had collected. Would there be an unknown story behind it? So he called Xue Qinyan. When she returned to Hangzhou, she would personally bring Qin Sheng here to have a look. She knew that very few young people could be invited by Master Lu. Xue Qinyan thought that Master Lu admired Qin Sheng. After all, she felt that Qin Sheng's calligraphy was really good, much better than those who were fishing for fame. So she called Qin Sheng over. At this moment, Qin Sheng was stunned. He did not expect that Master Lu would collect his grandfather's calligraphy. Master Lu was still laughing. He actually met the grandson of a super mundane master today. It was really fate. Xue Qinyan, who was slightly surprised at first, finally came back to her senses. The original owner of this calligraphy was actually Qin Sheng's grandfather. Could there be such a coincidence? What was the background of Qin Sheng's grandfather? She did not seem to hear Qin Sheng mention it before. For Master Lu to collect this calligraphy, this old man was not simple. "Qin Sheng, you said that this is your grandfather's calligraphy?" Xue Qinyan said doubtfully. She did not want Qin Sheng to make a fool of himself in front of Master Lu. Otherwise, they would not have any interaction in the future. Qin Sheng said firmly, "Sister, since I was young, my grandfather and I depended on each other. How could I not know his calligraphy? He taught me how to write. Moreover, I've seen my grandfather's words as gifts to others. Although it was rare, his signature was the most special. He never wrote his own name. Instead, he used these 4 characters in the oracle bone script. Until now, no one knew what they meant. If you don't believe me, you can visit Taoist Rin of Mount Zhongnan Lu Guantai. My grandfather's handwriting is in his study. I can also ask my sister to take a photo of the calligraphy that my grandfather gave to my adoptive parents and send it to you. Then you will understand." Since Qin Sheng had already said so, there was no doubt that the identity of the owner of the calligraphy was confirmed. Xue Qinyan would no longer doubt that Qin Sheng was talking nonsense. However, her biggest doubt now was who exactly was Qin Sheng's grandfather? Master Lu stopped laughing and said very seriously, "Qin Sheng is right. These 4 words are indeed the oracle bone script, and they have not been translated. I have studied them for so many years, but I still can't figure out the meaning." Shui Qinyan said thoughtfully. I didn't expect that Master Lu and Old Master Qin would have such a relationship. Now I finally understand why Master Lu wants to see Qin Shing. He must have found some clues in the midterm. Before Qin Shing could ask how Master Lu got the calligraphy, Master Lu asked first, Qin Shing, I don't know if Old Master Qin is still alive. I want to see his true face. Shui Qinyan sighed and said, Master Lu, it's a pity. Old Master Qin passed away a few years ago. After hearing this, Master Lu's eyes instantly dimmed. After the surprise, he did not expect to be disappointed. He could only say, It seems that I have no fate with Old Master Qin. Master Lu, how can you say that? Today you met Old Master Qin's descendant. Is this also a kind of fate? Shui Qinyan said euphemistically. Master Lu sighed and said, Qinyan is right. It seems that I am too stubborn and fell behind. Qin Shing did not care about this. He was concerned about his grandfather. He gritted his teeth and said, Master Lu, I don't know how you got this calligraphy. Master Lu looked at Qin Shing and thought for a moment. He said, It's a long story. I have heard about Old Master Qin's anecdotes. At least on a certain level, Old Master Qin can be considered as a master. But I have never seen him before. 10 years ago, I went to Beijing and met an elder by chance. We talked about Old Master Qin and we got along well. Then the elder gave me this calligraphy. The 4 words selflessness and inaction are also the state that I have been pursuing for so many years. But my understanding is too low. I have always wanted to find this master to give me some advice, but I have never had the chance. Beijing? Qin Shing muttered to himself. Then he said in surprise, Master Lu, what is this elder's name? Master Lu said slowly, Chen Chongxing. After hearing these 3 words, Qin Shing was directly stunned on the spot. His expression was extremely complicated. He really did not expect that he would gain so many surprises today. Qin Shing was a little excited and asked eagerly, Master Lu, I want to meet this elder. You just need to tell him that my name is Qin Shing and I am Old Master Qin's grandson. He will definitely meet me. It seems that there is a story between you and Old Master Qin? Master Lu said in surprise. He did not expect that Qin Shing was so not simple. Now he was more and more curious about this young man. Qin Shing shook his head directly and said, No, there is no story between me and Old Master Qin. But I have to meet him. Why? Shui Qinyan was a little confused. She also gained a lot today. That was, Qin Shing was definitely not that simple. His grandfather was definitely a master that Master Lu admired so much. Qin Shing said slowly, Because I was an orphan since I was young. My grandfather and I depended on each other. I don't know anything about my parents. Before my grandfather passed away, he told me that if I wanted to know about my background, I should go to Beijing and find an old man called Chen Chongxing. Obviously, the Old Master Qin that my grandfather mentioned was the Old Master Qin that Master Lu knew. So I have to meet him. Your background? Shui Qinyan stared at Qin Shing. She did not expect that this would be involved. Things seemed to be a little complicated. What kind of background did Qin Shing have? Qin Shing nodded heavily and said, I want to know about my background and the news about my parents. So I have to meet Old Master Qin. Master Lu, it seems that only you can help me. Shui Qinyan also hoped that Qin Shing would get what he wanted. She looked at Master Lu and pleaded. Master Lu sighed and said, Hey Qin Shing, it is not that I don't want to help you. It is that I have not seen Old Master Qin for a few years. Old Master Qin's whereabouts have always been erratic. If you want to meet him, you can only rely on fate. I don't even know if Old Master Qin is still alive. Qin Shing's mood was similar to Master Lu's just now. After great joy came great sorrow. Originally, he thought that he was going to know about his background. He did not expect to hear such news. His face was full of disappointment and unwillingness. Master Lu quickly said, however, Qin Shing, don't be disappointed. I can find a way to find out. After all, I have been in contact with the descendants of the Chun family. I should be able to find out. Once there is news, I will contact you immediately. Hearing this, Qin Shing was excited again. He quickly said, Thank you, Master Lu. Thank you so much. Master Lu waved his hand and said, We can be considered friends despite the difference in age. Today's ups and downs are really interesting. However, Qin Shing, I want to ask you one last question. You have to tell me the truth. Master Lu, go ahead, Qin Shing said calmly. Master Lu said in a deep voice, You really don't know the meaning of the 4 oracle bone inscriptions? Qin Shing replied almost without hesitation, Master Lu, I really don't know. I have no reason to lie to you. Master Lu sighed and said, Forget it. It seems that I have no fate to know in this life. They had lunch in Master Lu's yard. Master Lu arranged for the kitchen to make a table of vegetarian dishes. However, they opened a bottle of wine, which was rare. The wine was the most common Maotai. However, the packaging was different from that on the market. It was not the Maotai supplied by state-owned enterprises or government agencies. Xue Qinyan saw Qin Shing staring at the wine bottle. She smiled and explained, This wine can't be bought. It was specially made by the Maotai factory for Master Lu's 60th birthday. They are all worldly possessions. I seldom drink, so I didn't touch them. Today, I am in a good mood, so I asked you to drink with me. Good rain in the right season, good wine is even better. Master Lu, who was sitting in the main seat, laughed and said. It could be seen that Master Lu was in a very good mood. After a few glasses of wine, Master Lu said directly, Qin Shing, I heard from Qinyan that you will stay in Hangzhou to develop in the future? Qin Shing smiled and nodded. Yes, Master Lu. That is my current plan. Then you can come to visit me when you are free in the future. We can have in-depth exchanges. I think you should have inherited a lot of old Master Qin's legacy since you have followed him for so many years. We can drink tea and talk about Taoism. When we are excited, we can also write impromptu. Isn't it great? Master Lu took the initiative to invite him. There were no more than 3 young people in the whole Hangzhou city who had this honor. It should be known that those who could walk into Master Lu's yard were definitely the leaders in Hangzhou city, not to mention young people. Xue Qinyan was extremely excited. Even she did not have such a special honor. Master Lu actually thought so highly of Qin Shing today. In that case, Qin Shing did not need her to show up at all in Hangzhou in the future. This was because he would meet all kinds of big shots in Hangzhou city here. This kind of resources was hard to come by. I am afraid that I will disturb Master Lu's peace, Qin Shing said somewhat embarrassedly, but he was very excited in his heart. Master Lu laughed and said, Life will be peaceful when your heart is peaceful. After lunch, Qin Shing and Xue Qinyan said goodbye and left. Both of them had gained a lot of surprises today. On the way back to the city, Xue Qinyan took the initiative to say, Qin Shing, old Master Lu is very powerful in Jiangsu, Zhejiang and Shanghai. As for how powerful he is, you will know in the future. If you can become old Master Lu's disciple, you will have a bright future. I can see that old Master Lu appreciates you very much. Qin Shing knew what Xue Qinyan meant and replied, Sister, let's leave it to fate. There is no need to be so deliberate. The reason why Master Lu did this today may be just that I am old Master Qin's grandson. Xue Qinyan smiled faintly and said, Well, I am just saying. You can judge the situation by yourself. Then she asked, But I did not expect you to have so many stories. Your family background should not be simple. After all, your grandfather is not simple. I knew my grandfather was not simple since I was young. But my grandfather is my grandfather, and I will only be myself. As for my family background, I did not think too much about it. I just want to know whether my parents are still alive, where they are, whether I have other relatives. After all, I have been an orphan for more than 20 years, Qin Shing sighed and said. Xue Qinyan held Qin Shing's hand subconsciously and said, Don't worry, they are definitely still alive. Since you want to see them so much, they must be waiting for you. Chapter 223. Were they considered friends? No matter what, after meeting Master Lu, Qin Shing more or less had hope. Everything that Qin Shing wanted to know was only known to that old man called Chen Chongsheng. Regarding his background, the news of his parents, the life of his grandfather, these were what he wanted to know the most. What kind of old man, what kind of life did he have, what kind of ups and downs did he go through to live in seclusion at the foot of Mount Zhongnan and eventually die a nameless death? When Qin Shing was young, he did not know much about his grandfather. He felt that his grandfather was similar to most old men, except that he was stricter than them and forced him to learn many things. The older Qin Shing grew, the more he felt that his grandfather was not simple. Those masters whom he met when he was young were already legendary figures in the eyes of ordinary people. However, his grandfather could chat happily with them. He could tell that they respected his grandfather from the bottom of their hearts. After leaving Xi'an, these people, such as Jiang Xianbang, Zhuang Zhou, and Master Lu, could all guess that his grandfather was not an ordinary person. After returning from Maijiawu to the city, Xue Qinyan insisted on dragging Qin Shing to go shopping. She said that Qin Shing's clothes were wrinkled, and she guessed that Lin Su did not buy any clothes for him recently. Qin Shing just forgot to iron them. Usually, Lin Su would iron his formal clothes and hang them in the cloakroom. Xue Qinyan insisted on dragging Qin Shing to Hangzhou Tower, which was a famous luxury shopping center in Hangzhou City. However, Qin Shing insisted on only buying some ordinary and practical things. He was just an ordinary worker now. He really could not afford to have that kind of face. Others would only say that he was acting cool. Therefore, Xue Qinyan could only go to Yintai. Other than that, Xue Qinyan also called Su Muxue. The two beauties accompanied Qin Shing for the entire afternoon and bought 4 to 5 sets of clothes and shoes for him. Qin Shing almost became a model. As long as they liked it, Qin Shing had to try it on. This made the salespeople and other customers envious. The two beauties were serving him. Those who did not know would think that Qin Shing was the son of a rich family or an official. However, this was too tiring. Qin Shing could not help but regret agreeing to go shopping with Xue Qinyan. The two beauties accompanied Qin Shing for the entire afternoon. Naturally, Qin Shing had to express his gratitude. Therefore, he treated them to dinner at night. Summer was the season for barbecue. Qin Shing wanted to treat the two beauties to barbecue, but he was worried that Su Muxue might not be used to it. After all, a woman's stomach would not be able to withstand the stimulation of food stalls. Xue Qinyan, on the other hand, was fine with it. She was already used to it. In the end, Qin Shing treated the two beauties to a meal. It was not the kind of high-class restaurant that cost hundreds or thousands per person. It was just an ordinary chain restaurant. After dinner, Xue Qinyan and Su Muxue agreed to go to the spa, while Qin Shing prepared to go home alone. At this time, an unexpected call came. Moreover, he wanted to treat Qin Shing to a drink. This call made Qin Shing hesitate for a long time. In the end, he agreed. However, he had set the location. It was his territory, which was Guangyin Live. In this way, at least there was a guarantee. Because the man on the phone was Yang Deng, Qin Shing had to be cautious. Yu Yixiao was a little surprised that Qin Shing had appeared in Guangyin Live again. This was the third time this man had come to Guangyin. Yu Yixiao did not know what he was up to. Yu Yixiao guessed that he might really like the atmosphere of Guangyin, or he was here to hunt for beauties again. After all, the beauty from last night had an outstanding temperament. "Assistant Qin, you're here again?" Just as Qin Shing found a seat and sat down, Yu Yixiao walked over with a smile. Qin Shing said with interest, "Looks like Lao Yu doesn't like me coming here." "What are you saying?" "I can't wait for Assistant Qin to come here every day," Yu Yixiao joked. "After all, there are quite a number of beauties here in Guangyin." Qin Shing immediately understood what he meant. He said casually, "Lao Yu, you're thinking too much. I'm a good man with a girlfriend. It's just that my girlfriend is on a business trip recently. That's why I invited a friend over tonight." Yu Yixiao was very gossipy. "Oh, you invited a friend. What about the beauty from last night?" Qin Shing pointed at Yu Yixiao and said, "Ha ha ha ha, I knew you must be thinking too much. I don't have that much charm to conquer a beauty of that level at our first meeting. Moreover, I'm not very interested in this kind of thing. The beauty from last night is a friend of mine. We haven't seen each other for a long time, so she gave me a surprise." "Oh, I see. You don't know the expressions of the men at the scene after that beauty was taken away by you." Yu Yixiao laughed out loud. Qin Shing smiled and said, "I understand." After they chatted for a while, Yang Deng appeared in Guangyin Live. After looking around, he found Qin Shing and sat down directly. He asked the waiter for 2 bottles of iced 1664. After Yang Deng ordered the wine, he looked at Qin Shing and said, "I thought you didn't dare to say yes." Qin Shing said directly, "To be honest, I'm a little scared. I'm afraid that you'll settle accounts with me later. But after all, I'm a man and I want to save face. Finally, you're in Hangzhou. I don't dare not come." "You're quite thoughtful. I don't like this kind of friend who is too shrewd." Yang Deng raised the corner of his mouth and said with a hint of evil charm. Qin Shing responded immediately, "If we were friends, I definitely wouldn't think too much. But we're not friends yet. I almost killed you once, so I have to think too much. After drinking this glass of wine, are we friends?" The waiter quickly brought the wine. Yang Deng filled up his glass and said. Qin Shing was a little hesitant. Yang Deng laughed and said, "It seems that you still don't believe me. You're too suspicious. I, Yang Deng, never stab my friends in the back. If I didn't treat you as a friend, that night on Nanshan Road, I would have dared to keep you here, and I wouldn't have invited you to drink tonight. I'm just happy to meet you. After all, we're of the same age." Qin Shing said slowly, "Everyone's way of life and standpoint are different. If our positions were reversed, I definitely wouldn't do this. But I want to live, so I have to be cautious. Now that you put it this way, I can understand. I heard about what happened to you in Shanghai later. Taking a step back, if I want to deal with you, I only need to tell Yan Chaozong that you're in Hangzhou. I don't need to do anything at all," Yang Deng said without hiding. Qin Shing's face changed slightly. He was very clear that Yan Chaozong would know that he was in Hangzhou sooner or later. He had to stand firm before Yan Chaozong knew. With the help of external forces, he could guarantee that Yan Chaozong at least wouldn't dare to do anything to him in Hangzhou. "But don't worry. I said that I treat you as a friend, so I won't betray my friend. If you treat me as a friend, if Yan Chaozong comes to Hangzhou, I will also stand on your side." Yang Deng took the initiative to extend an olive branch. Qin Shing stared at Yang Deng and said nothing. Yang Deng said helplessly, "Now are you doubting my starting point again? Why do I take you so seriously? You really make me speechless. I really can't stand people who are wishy-washy." Qin Shing also felt that he thought too much. If Yang Deng really wanted to do something to him, there would be many ways. As long as he stuck to the bottom line and didn't make any mistakes, he would use time to test Yang Deng. So Qin Shing didn't think too much. He directly picked up the glass and said, "Drink." "That's more like it," Yang Deng said in a deep voice. He, who was usually serious in speech and manner, smiled today. Yang Deng really admired Qin Shing. He didn't have a strong background, but he had done a lot of things in Shanghai. He even dared to provoke the famous big young Master Yen in Shanghai and snatched away the beloved daughter of the Lin family in Ningbo. He really had guts. He didn't think that Qin Sheng was impulsive and brainless. After all, not everything in life should be overcautious and indecisive. Weighing the pros and cons, after drinking a glass of wine, Qin Sheng and Yang Deng became nominal friends. But the word friend still had to stand the scrutiny of time and experience. Otherwise, it would only be a word. I heard many versions of the story about you and Yen Chaozong. I don't know which one is true. Everyone said that you snatched away Yen Chaozong's fiancée, and then Yen Chaozong killed both of you. At first, I thought it was true and sent people to look for you. Both of you were indeed missing. But I didn't expect to meet you in Hangzhou after half a year. You really surprised me. Yang Deng talked about Qin Sheng's past. Qin Sheng sighed and said, "He really wanted to kill me. I almost died in his hands. Maybe I was lucky. The King of Hell didn't want to kill me, so he spared my life. Later, I recuperated for half a year. When you saw me, it was the second day after I came to Hangzhou. I never believe in luck. I only believe in strength," Yang Deng said disapprovingly. Qin Sheng laughed and said, "What about that night? We're different. That's why we can sit together and drink today. I admit that I'm not as good as you. I owe you my life, and I'll pay you back sooner or later," Yang Deng said casually without feeling embarrassed. Qin Sheng laughed and said, "You're also a man with temperament. You can find out what kind of person I, Yang Deng, am in Hangzhou City. I will never be merciful to my enemies, but I will do anything for my true friends," Yang Deng said confidently. This was his style of doing things. Qin Sheng raised his glass and said, "Let's not talk about anything else tonight. We just drink. We must enjoy ourselves in life." "We'll get drunk 36,000 times," Yang Deng echoed. After that, they laughed at the same time. At this moment, Qin Sheng felt a little congenial. However, before they drank too much, Qin Sheng's trouble came. The eldest miss of the Chao family called and shouted in panic, "Qin Sheng, come and save me. Someone wants to beat me." Qin Sheng could hear that it was a little noisy over there. He couldn't help frowning and saying, "What's going on? Come here first. I'll send the address to your mobile phone," Chowing said anxiously. Then she directly hung up the phone. Qin Sheng's face changed slightly. He was afraid that Yuan Ku, Qian Buping, and the others would vent their anger on Chao Ying or threaten Chowda in order to deal with Chowda. So he quickly got up and left. "I have something urgent. I have to go now. I'll treat you to a drink another day," Qin Sheng said helplessly. Yang Deng wondered, what happened? Qin Sheng explained, "A friend is in trouble. I have to go there to help. I have nothing to do. I'll go with you. I'll have one more helper," Yang Deng stood up and said. Qin Sheng hesitated for a moment and nodded. Okay. After all, they were in Hangzhou. Yang Deng was also a respected person. He might be able to help. Besides, with Yang Deng's skills, even if they faced the other party, they would definitely not be at a disadvantage. Chapter 224. Then you stay among the 3 children of the Chao family. The eldest, Chao Zhang, was sensible. Chowda also let him be. On Chao Zhang's 18th birthday, Chowda had a good chat with him. Chowda said that he would not stop him from doing whatever he wanted before he graduated from college. Whether he wanted to pick up girls, play music, or travel around the world, he could arrange his own life and time, but he had to take over after college. The second child, Chao Ying, was an absolute adolescent rebellious girl. She had always been against her parents. Anyway, her parents did not allow her to do it. She wanted to try it. She smoked, drank, skipped classes, fought, dyed her hair, got tattoos, went to nightclubs, and so on. She never took her parents' words seriously. She was a bad child in the eyes of others. The third child, Chao Yu, might be born by a mistress. The little girl was strange. She was the apple of the Chow family's eye. Everyone loved this little girl. Today, Chowing had an appointment with a few so-called friends. They were all delinquents. They went to a fine beer hall on Wentao Road in Binjiang to drink. The beer hall was opened by one of their friends. After drinking, they came out and walked on Wentao Road. They happened to meet two rich second generations. Chowing was pretty, but she had a bad temper. She was drunk, so she started to quarrel with the driver. In the end, she picked up a stone from the side and smashed the driver's Porsche. She was in big trouble. They were 3 women and 2 men. The opposite side was 4 men. They did not beat them. They just asked people to surround them and let them find someone to solve the problem. If they could not pay, then there were only 2 choices: call the police or the woman accompanied them for a week. They were all children who had not graduated from high school. They had already been frightened after such a big trouble. They did not dare to tell their families, let alone the police. Chowing subconsciously thought of Qin Shing, so she asked Qin Shing to come and help. In the end, they could only ask their parents for help. How is it? Did you find the person? I can tell you that it is useless to find anyone today. The Porsche owner squinted and smiled. He wanted to see how much trouble these children could cause. Chowing was afraid, but she did not admit it. She snorted and said, "Isn't it just a broken Porsche 911? Any car in my family is more expensive than yours. Why are you so proud?" As soon as Chowing finished speaking, a man next to her raised his arm and was about to beat her up. He said, "You are a bitch. You have a bad mouth. You are rich. Pay for the car. If you don't, I will sell you to be a prostitute." "You're the bitch," Chowing said angrily. The man subconsciously wanted to provoke Chowing, but he was stopped by the Porsche owner. "Old Ma, don't bother with this little kid. You will have time to play later. I'll give you another half an hour. If you can't solve it in half an hour, then I can only do it my way." The Porsche owner stared at Chowing and snorted. Chao Ying's friend said in fear, "Ying, what should we do? You shouldn't have been so impulsive just now. This car is so expensive. Can we afford it?" Chowing kept saying in her heart, "Come quickly, come quickly. If you don't come, I can only call the old man. I guess I won't be able to go out for the whole summer vacation." "It's okay. If it doesn't work, I will call home." Chowing had to comfort her. The Porsche owner was also a young man in his 20s. He could feel that Chowing was not a child from an ordinary family. Otherwise, she would not dare to be so unscrupulous. So he did not do it. He just wanted to fix the car so that he would not be punished by his father when he went home. After waiting for another 10 minutes, a taxi stopped on the side of the road. Qin Shing and Yang Deng slowly got off. They saw a lot of people around and could not help but frown and walk over. When Chowing saw Qin Shing, she finally felt at ease. She pushed the crowd and quickly ran to Qin Shing. She complained, "I thought you wouldn't come." The Porsche owner and others thought that some big shots would come. When they saw this scene, they actually came by taxi and there were only 2 men. They became more confident. "What the hell is going on?" Qin Shing said with a gloomy face. He did not give Chowing a good look at all. Chowing carefully explained the ins and outs of the matter. After Qin Shing listened, he was also stunned. This girl's temper was really not ordinary. He just wanted to talk to you, but you actually smashed his car. What kind of hatred did he have? However, Qin Shing had no choice. After all, he was Chao Da's assistant. He could only find a way to solve this matter. "Well, I got it. Let me deal with this matter," Qin Shing whispered after listening. Chowing looked at Yang Deng next to her and said, "Is this the helper you found?" "My friend, he came here on the way." Qin Shing was too lazy to pay attention to him. Qin Shing and Yang Deng slowly walked into the crowd with Chowing. The Porsche owner said with some contempt, "Your friend is also here. Tell me, how do you want to solve this matter?" Qin Shing said casually, "Porsche 911, a good car. You can't get any beauty, But you have to flirt with a few high school students? The Porsche owner laughed and said, she is also a high school student. A few of his friends followed and laughed. Some people even took advantage of their large number and ridiculed, she wears heavy makeup like a prostitute. Your mother is a prostitute, Chao Ying retorted without hesitation. Since Qin Sheng was here, she was naturally unscrupulous. It was impossible to let others point at her nose and scold her. The man said angrily, you dare to say one more word. Believe it or not, I will destroy you. If I smashed your car, we can talk about the matter as it is. But if you have a bad mouth, you can't help it. Friend, illness comes from the mouth, and disaster comes from the mouth. Watch your words, Qin Sheng said coldly with a gloomy face. The man did not take Qin Sheng and Yang Deng seriously at all. He immediately retorted, who do you think you are? If King scolded her as a prostitute. What can you do to me? The man stood in front of Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng did not give him a chance to continue to speak. Without hesitation, he punched the man's face. The man was knocked to the ground on the spot, and his nose was bleeding. Damn, you dare to fight! Brothers attacked. The man who was called by the Porsche owner said angrily. Almost at the same time, this group of men rushed to Qin Sheng and Yang Deng. Qin Sheng pushed Chao Ying behind him. Chao Ying was so scared that she had to retreat with her friends. Qin Sheng and Yang Deng, two serious martial artists, were dealing with 8 or 9 ordinary people who did not have any skills at all. Wasn't it like a lion fighting a rabbit? The scene that was calm just now became lively in an instant. Shouting and wailing sounded everywhere. Qin Sheng took the lead to face the enemy. Yang Deng did not sit back and do nothing. He did not hesitate to take action. Unfortunately, this scene only lasted for less than 5 minutes, because these men who were exhausted by wine and women were not opponents of Qin Sheng and Yang Deng at all. All of them were lying on the ground. Chao Ying was worried about Qin Sheng at first and shouted, "Be careful!" But in the end, she took her friends to watch the show. At the same time, she did not forget to command Qin Sheng. She was almost sitting on a bench and eating melon seed. A chaotic battle finally ended with the annihilation of the other side. Obviously, you can be reasonable. Why do you have to scold people? Qin Sheng squatted on the ground and sighed. Anyway, Yang Deng followed him to fight today. No matter what happened, this new friend would take care of it. Qin Sheng had no scruples. A man lying on the ground felt wronged and said, "You smashed the car and beat people. Is there any law?" There were only street lights in this area. It was so dark that Qin Sheng could not see who spoke. Qin Sheng asked, "Who said that? Come, stand up and let's talk about it." The group of people was silent, and no one dared to stand up. Yang Deng felt that this matter should end. He walked to the side of the Porsche 911 with a sullen face, raised his fist and smashed it directly. The front cover of the Porsche was smashed directly. Yang Deng sneered, "Driving a Porsche, you dare to show off. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning?" The Porsche owner's heart was bleeding. "What the hell is going on? You still smashed it?" Having suffered such a big loss, this group of men would definitely not let it go. They had made up their minds to get back at them. However, Yang Deng's next words directly sentenced them to death. Even if they had the guts, they dared not to make trouble. Now the car is smashed by me, and the people are also beaten by me. If you want to get back at them, I'll wait. My name is Yang Deng, the adopted son of Third Master Wu. You don't look like ordinary people. You should be able to find me. His words made the faces of the men on the ground pale. Damn it, the other party was actually the adopted son of Third Master Wu. Who was Third Master Wu? He was an ambitious and powerful person in Jiangsu and Zhejiang. Even if they had 100 guts, they would not dare to get back at him. Brother, we were wrong. Today is a misunderstanding. Don't be angry. It's all our fault. We dare not do it again. The friend of the Porsche owner had already come to himself. He bowed his head and admitted defeat without hesitation. Yang Deng snorted. I don't care if you really admit your fault or not. Anyway, I'll wait for you. This group of people's faces were as pale as dead ashes. They were really unlucky today. Meeting such a tough guy, they could only admit defeat and admit defeat. Let's go and continue to drink. Don't be disappointed by these bastards. Yang Deng turned around and put his arm around Qin Shing's shoulder. Qin Shing smiled and said, You're a little bit bullying. That depends on who it is. Who asked them to come out to be pretentious? If you want to compensate and apologize, I won't stop you. Yang Deng laughed. Qin Shing chuckled and said, I have no money. That's it. Yang Deng shrugged and said. Qin Shing walked in front of Chao Ying and said seriously, Let your bad friends go back. You go with me. They are not bad friends. Chao Ying gritted her teeth and said. Qin Shing snorted and said, Well, then I'll call Mr. Chao and let him pick you up. Chao Ying heard this and was afraid that Qin Shing would really call her. She quickly turned around and said, You take a taxi and go back. I'll call you tomorrow. When these friends heard this, they were relieved. They quickly said goodbye and left. Finally, they got out of this whirlpool. After Chao Ying's friends left, Qin Shing and Yang Deng were also ready to leave. Qin Shing shouted to Chao Ying, who was still staring at the group of men proudly, Let's go. Just like that? What about them? Chao Ying had never experienced such a scene. Their fights were just small ones. It was not appropriate for them to leave just like that since the matter was so serious. Qin Shing was speechless. Then you stay. Chapter 225. Compromise with each other. The children of the poor matured early, and the children of the rich were more mischievous. Qin Shing thought that Chao Ying was mischievous. Maybe they had more opportunities to make mistakes. Maybe it was because of their family background that they were so unscrupulous. After leaving the scene of the incident and walking to the roadside, Qin Shing had not paid attention to Chao Ying. He asked Yang Deng next to him, What's up? Find a place to eat some supper? Yang Deng took out his mobile phone and looked at the time. Okay, it's still early. I'll listen to you. I'm not familiar with Hangzhou, and I don't know where there is a supper shop nearby. You are the local tyrant. You find a place, Qin Shing said casually. He looked back at Chao Ying, who seemed to not take the previous incident seriously, and sighed slightly. After Yang Deng called his friend to ask, he took Qin Shing to a famous food stall nearby by taxi. Qin Shing and Chao Ying sat in the back. Chao Ying said excitedly, Qin Shing, you were so handsome just now. You were so much more handsome than the boys in our school fighting. If you were in our school, you would definitely be the most handsome boy in our school. Qin Shing, can you teach me a few moves in the future? Whose child is this? She is so young but does not learn good things, he asked with interest. Chao Ying heard this and snorted. I want to praise you. How can you say that to me? Well, your perfect image in my heart has collapsed. Qin Shing snorted. No one will treat you as a mute if you don't speak. Ugh. Chao Ying was stunned, but she still shut up. Qin Shing was now in control of her life and death. If she annoyed Qin Shing, she could not guarantee that he would complain to her father. That would be terrible. Qin Shing continued, I don't want this kind of thing to happen again. I am your father's assistant, but not your nanny. Don't call me for everything. If you have the ability to make trouble, you have to bear the price. If others help you, they will only make you suffer more. After Chao Ying heard it, she was a little surprised. After staring at Qin Shing for a few seconds, she suddenly burst out, Don't lecture me like an adult. You are not related to me. What right do you have to lecture me? Just because you just helped me out. Don't think that I will be grateful. Who do you think you are? You are just a dog of our Chao family. You do whatever our family tells you to do. After Qin Shing heard this, he slapped Chao Ying without hesitation. The slap directly stunned Chao Ying. He would not spoil such a rebellious girl. The driver and Yang Deng in the front were shocked. Yang Deng was speechless. Qin Sheng, don't be so impulsive. She is still a child. I'm just teaching her how to behave, Qin Sheng said disapprovingly. Then he turned to stare at Chao Ying and continued, I now understand why you had an accident today, and I regret coming to help you. A child like you should be taught a lesson by an outsider, so that you know what manners are. Don't make your parents lose face outside, and don't make trouble for them. They are busy enough. Don't think that just because you are a child you can be unscrupulous. Not everyone has to spoil you. Chao Ying covered her face with some horror and said, You dare to hit me. You actually dare to hit me. You know that my parents have never hit me. Hearing this, Qin Sheng said angrily, If you say one more word, I will continue to slap you. Go back and tell your parents that I hit you. Chao Ying was obviously scared. She covered her face and did not dare to speak. She could only sob in a low voice, crying a little sadly. Qin Sheng did not bother to pay attention to her. Hitting her was also for her own good, so that she would not make bigger mistakes in the future. Go to Jiushi Rose Garden and send her home first, Qin Sheng told the driver in the front. Yang Deng had no opinion. Anyway, it was really troublesome to follow Qin Sheng tonight. On the way, no one spoke again. Yang Deng did not feel embarrassed. He played with his mobile phone alone. Anyway, it was not far from Jiushi Rose Garden. Chao Ying had been looking out of the window, and no one knew what she was thinking. When they arrived at Jiushi Rose Garden, Qin Sheng called Chao Zhang and asked him to come out to pick up Chao Ying. Chao Zhang wondered why Qin Sheng was with his sister, but he still came out and waited at the main door. After the taxi stopped, Qin Sheng had already seen Chao Zhang at the door. He turned to Chao Ying next to him and said, We are here. Get off, your brother is waiting for you. Chao Ying suddenly asked, Qin Sheng, are you really not afraid that I will tell my parents? Whatever. Qin Sheng was too lazy to pay attention to her and got off directly. Slowly walking to Chao Zhang, Qin Sheng whispered, You take her home and tell your father that I have something to do, so I have to go first. Well, what happened? Why did she come back with you? Chao Zhang looked at Chao Ying, who was depressed behind, and asked with a puzzled face. Qin Sheng said casually, I just met her. I was worried about her so late, so I sent her back on the way. I was looking for you tonight, but I had something to do, so I didn't call you. Let's make an appointment another day, Chao Zhang whispered. At this time, Chao Ying had come over and covered half of her face with her hair. Chao Zhang said angrily, Look at you. You don't look like a student. Dad hasn't come back yet. You should go home quickly in case he sees you and scold you. Mr. Chao, do you have something to do tonight? Qin Sheng said thoughtfully. If he had something to do, he would definitely inform his special assistant. Chao Zhang explained, I just called. I am already on the way back. I have something to discuss with my friends tonight. Qin Sheng didn't think much and nodded. Then I will go first. After returning to the taxi, Qin Sheng and Yang Deng left. Who would have thought that drinking would be so troublesome? Yang Deng said thoughtfully, If I didn't guess wrong, they are the son and daughter of your boss, Chowda. I didn't expect that the girl has such a personality. It seems that you have investigated me clearly. Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. Yang Deng said with a smile, I don't think so. I just want to know what you are doing in Hangzhou. I didn't expect that you would follow Chowda. To be honest, it is a waste of talent to let you follow Chowda. A few years ago, Chowda was still a big shot in Hangzhou. But after suffering a few losses, Chowda is not as good as before. I just need to make a living. Mr. Chao still thinks highly of me, Qin Sheng said in a low voice. Yang Deng said thoughtfully, If you really want to take this path, I can recommend you to my foster father. You will go faster and further with my foster father than with Chowda. Even if you are not willing to follow my foster father, I can recommend other people to you. What do you think? I appreciate your kindness, but I am not so ambitious. Let's do it step by step. I think it is good now, Qin Shing refused euphemistically. Yang Deng squinted and said, You really have no ambition? Don't you want revenge? Qin Shing smiled bitterly and did not speak. Yang Deng did not ask further. He did not believe Qin Shing's words. After eating supper and drinking a few bottles of beer, they did not intend to go home until they were drunk. After that, they went back home. Qin Shing took the initiative to invite them to continue next time. After Chao Ying returned to the villa uneasily, she went back to her room to rest after saying goodbye to Chao Zhang. She was afraid that her brother or others would find her swollen left face. At that time, it would be difficult to explain. If they really got to the bottom of it, she would be in danger. So Chao Ying had to find a way to avoid it. Qin Shing had been waiting for Chao Da's news. The next morning, after breakfast, Chao Da finally took the initiative to call Qin Shing and asked him to go to Jiushi Rose Garden directly. When Qin Shing arrived at Jiushi Rose Garden, Chao Da was already waiting in the yard. He made a pot of Westlake Longjing tea in advance. Qin Shing sat down thoughtfully. Do you know why I asked you to come here? Chao Da said slowly. Qin Shing guessed. It seems that Uncle Chao has already thought about how to deal with Qian Buping. Qian Buping is not worth mentioning. From the beginning, our opponent is Yuan Ku, not Qian Buping's group, Chao Da said disapprovingly. Qin Shing nodded silently. After thinking for a moment, he asked, Uncle Chao, what do you mean? What is it? Chao Da laughed. Qin Shing replied, Get along peacefully or break up? Originally, I was also thinking about what to do, but I did not expect that Yuan Ku took the initiative to talk to me. The result was a little unexpected, Chao Da said meaningfully. Yuan Ku took the initiative to talk to you? Qin Shing frowned and said, A showdown? Chao Da squinted and said, He took the initiative to withdraw. What? Qin Shing was shocked. Chao Da sighed and said, I also did not expect this result. Finance, catering, and the nightclubs of Xinding Hong and Huanglong will belong to him. He will completely withdraw from Yuanda. As for the matter of Qian Buping and others, it will be over. Hearing such a result, Qin Shing was even more confused. Yuan Ku was the second shareholder of Yuanda. It was somewhat disadvantageous for him to withdraw like this. Could it be that what happened that day made Yuan Ku afraid? Did you agree? Qin Shing asked. Chao Da nodded and said, Yes, I agreed. The matter between me and him should also come to an end. I can accept such a result. Well, this is also good. It is conducive to the subsequent reform of Yuanda. Qin Shing thought about it and said. This was also a result of mutual compromise. If Chao Da really wanted to put Qian Buping and others to death, Yuan Ku would not stop until he was dead. Chao Da looked up at Qin Shing and said with a smile, Yuan Ku specifically mentioned you and said that you are very good. It seems that he is afraid of you. Qin Shing, tell me, is there anything I don't know that made Yuan Ku make such a decision? Chapter 226. Let's have a try. First of all, there is an important thing. The strongest counterattack has been published for half a year. So far, no reader group has been established. Today I have finally done it. The new group is called Guangzhong Association, group number 228106218. I hope we can become friends here, chat, discuss the plot, urge for updates and send blades. I will wait for you in Guangzhong Association. According to Yuan Ku's nature, he wanted to annex Yuanda. Now he was the most powerful force in Yuanda. Even if something happened to Qian Buping, he still had other pawns. If Chao Da wanted to fall out with him, he would never admit defeat. After all, behind him stood his foster father, who was a big hero in Jiangxia. But now he suddenly reconciled with Chao Da and even took the initiative to withdraw from Yuanda. Chao Da naturally did not understand. He was not the same as before. He was more or less afraid of Yuanku. After thinking about it, Qin Shing knew what was going on. A few days ago, when he and Qian Buping became enemies, someone followed him all the time. But since the lakeside house, there were no more followers. Thinking of Yuanku's attitude toward Xue Qinyan that day, Qin Shing understood what was going on. Obviously, Yuanku was very afraid of Xue Qinyan and did not dare to provoke her. Secondly, he guessed Qin Shing's background, and then associated Chowda with him. Finally, he made such a decision. 2 days ago, I was drinking tea with my friends at the lakeside house. I happened to meet Yuanku and Qian Buping. At that time, I almost fought with them. Later, my friend appeared to solve the problem. Yuanku seemed to be afraid of her. Apart from that, I can't think of anything else, Qin Shing explained without hiding anything. Chowda did not ask what this friend's name was, nor did he want to thank this friend. Chowda, who was experienced, was not a young man who tried to curry favor with others. He would keep a distance and a sense of propriety. Moreover, he knew Qin Shing's biggest secret. His father was Qin Chang'an. It was not surprising that he had all kinds of connections. No matter what, I have to thank you for this, Chowda said with a smile. Qin Shing shook his head and smiled. Uncle Chow, I just did what I should do. This is also my duty. You don't have to say anything. After a moment of silence, Chowda said, the biggest obstacle in Yuanda has been removed. Now we can carry out a thorough reform. I want to talk to Zhou. If he can take the initiative to quit, it will be the best. If he can't, I can only be ruthless. So I want you to manage the company. Do you have the confidence? Qin Shing declined in a hurry as he said, Uncle Chow, I can't do that. I'm not being modest. I really don't have this ability. I've never been in contact with management, let alone being a boss. You'd better choose someone else. I can allow you to make mistakes. Moreover, as a manager, you only need to control the strategic direction. Others will handle the rest, so you don't have to worry too much. Moreover, I don't have any suitable candidates, Chowda said slowly. Qin Shing refused again as he said, Uncle Chow, this is not a small matter. You'd better find a professional manager. I'll help you find one, or you can choose someone from within the company. If it doesn't work, we can discuss it again. Well, then do as you said. Chowda finally made a decision. In fact, the reason why he did this was that he wanted to tie Yuanda and Qin Shing together. When they got greater benefits in the future, Chowda still had some small thoughts, but it was also human nature. The closing of Chowda and Yuanku was completed in a few days. In fact, there were not too many complicated procedures. Everything was simple, and the past things were let go. Therefore, Yuanda's current business was only the import and export trade, the film and television company, the 2 nightclubs, Guangyin Live, and the equity of foreign investment. After Qin Shing and Chowda talked in detail, they had a new plan for Yuanda. The import and export trade and the film and television company remained unchanged. The 2 nightclubs and Guangyin Live were integrated into a catering and entertainment management company. The foreign investment business and so on would be taken back to the headquarters. The film and television company was still managed by Mr. Sunday. After all, he was a person in the circle and rarely participated in the internal disputes of Yuanda. Previously, Yuanda did not invest much in the film and television, which made him somewhat angry. Qin Shing was very optimistic about the future of the film and television company. Therefore, Chowda and Mr. Sun had a good talk and promised to support the film and television company. Qin Shing was the person in charge of the catering and entertainment management company. At the same time, he was also the vice president of Yuanda. However, his focus was mainly in charge of the catering and entertainment business. However, Qin Shing did not know much about management. Therefore, Qin Shing thought of a suitable candidate. As for the import and export trade, It had always been the most profitable business of Yuanda. Previously, it was controlled by Mr. Zhou. After Chowda and Mr. Zhou talked in detail, he finally did not let Mr. Zhou leave Yuanda. Instead, he gave him another chance and let him continue to be in charge of the whole Yuanda. The past things were let go. If he did nothing in the future, he would be kicked out of Yuanda without hesitation. In order to limit Mr. Zhou's power, the person in charge of the import and export trade was replaced by a collateral relative of Chowda. He was originally the vice president of the Import and Export Trade Company. Unfortunately, after Chowda stopped doing things, he had been suppressed by Mr. Zhou. This time, he could finally hold his head high. When Chowda announced his decision at the management meeting, everyone was shocked. Qin Xing, who was less than 30 years old, became the vice president of Yuanda. They all began to think about how to climb on this big ship. Qin Xing was thinking about how to run his catering and entertainment management company. First of all, he needed to find a suitable manager to help him. Second, he needed to reform Yunding and Pali. A new ruler brought his own ministers. Qin Xing must firmly control them. Finally, he needed to dream of Guanyin. To put it bluntly, these all needed talents, and they must be his own people. How to find them? Qin Xing thought about it and thought of Chang Baji and the group of old people in Shangshan Ruoshui, especially those people in Shangshan Ruoshui. They were all elites in this field. If he could poach these people, it would be twice the result with half the effort. Chang Baji was in charge of Yunding and Pali. He used to hang around in such places when he was in Xi'an. He was more familiar with the routine than anyone else. After all, Song Wei of Yunding was an old man and also a confidant of Mr. Zhou. Qin Xing did not intend to get rid of him. Instead, he let him still manage Yunding, but he only listened to Chang Baji. Whether he was willing or not, unless he voluntarily resigned, Chang Baji would be in charge of Pali International. How could the group of old people in Shangshan Ruoshui come to Hangzhou? Qin Xing did not know their current life, and did not know whether they would come. It was impossible to go to Shanghai to find them. In the end, he could only let Chang Baji go to Shanghai. It took nearly 2 weeks for Qin Xing to deal with these trivial things in Yuanda. At this time, Lin Su also came back from a business trip. Originally, she would only go for a week, but in the end, she went for half a month. This made Qin Xing miss her very much. After all, they were together almost every day in this half a year. In this half a month, they could only call to comfort each other. On the day when Lin Su returned to Shanghai, Qin Xing went to the airport early to pick her up. However, Lin Su's colleagues were there, so Qin Xing could not do anything too out of line. It was not until Lin Su and her colleagues separated and they walked to the parking lot and got in the car that Qin Xing did not hesitate to have a lingering kiss with Lin Su. "Miss me?" Lin Su said shyly. No matter how cold a woman was, in front of the person she liked, she would be the same as most women. Qin Xing said with a smile, "1 day apart feels like 3 years. We haven't seen each other for half a month, and I feel like decades have passed. If you don't come back, I may die alone." You start to be glib again. Lin Su enjoyed it in her heart, but she said it. Qin Xing said cheekily, "It depends on who it is." "Well, I know you have a sweet mouth." Lin Su stared at Qin Xing and then asked, "I was not here for half a month. How are you?" "There are a lot of trivial things in Yuanda. I was so busy that I had no time to rest at all. But now it is almost over," Qin Xing explained. Lin Su said softly, "What you said on the phone, what is the result now?" Yuan Ku quit, Yuanda was reorganized, and I became the vice president of Yuanda. At the same time, I am in charge of the catering and entertainment company. I didn't expect Uncle Chow to value me so much. I have no confidence. After all, I have never been in touch with these things, so I plan to find some helpers. Qin Xing sighed. "It seems that Sister Shui is quite influential," Lin Su said thoughtfully. Although Lin Su was a little surprised that Qin Sheng became the vice president of Yuanda, she still did not say anything. After all, it might be because of Uncle Zhuang, or maybe Chowda appreciated Qin Sheng's performance during this period. Qin Sheng nodded and said, "When I was in Shanghai, Uncle Jiang told me that the Shui family is deeply rooted in Zhujiang. These people from Zhujiang are all big shot. The boss of the Shui family is now a famous official in Shanghai. How can a small figure like Yuan could not be afraid of them? Even the big shots behind him have to think twice." "You are right. Lin Su knew something about the Shui family," she said, "but don't worry too much. You will get used to everything slowly. After all, you still have a long way to go." Qin Sheng smiled and said, "I am just saying." They drove directly back to the Golden Coast. Lin Su could rest for 2 days. Qin Sheng planned to accompany her. However, in the evening, Chowda called him to Jiushi Rose Garden again. This time, they talked in detail in the study. Chowda said with some fear, "The restructuring of the company has begun. What do you think? I know some friends in Shanghai. They are all professional talents. I am going to ask them to come to Hangzhou to help. The key positions must be trusted people, and the other positions will be open for recruitment," Qin Sheng said with a smile. Chowda squinted and said, "I am not worried about these. I am worried about Yunding and Polly. The security here used to be in charge of LV Shimen. To put it bluntly, they were all Yuan Ku's men. Now that they have withdrawn, we need new forces to intervene. I think you also understand that in this kind of place without this kind of background, it is easy to get into trouble. After all, there are too many people in the same industry, and the competition is too fierce." "Well, Uncle Chow, what do you think?" Qin Sheng did not know much about this, so he asked. Chowda took a sip of tea and continued, "I have contacted a few influential parties in Hangzhou. I plan to ask you to go over and talk. After all, these things will be your responsibility in the future. I do not need to show up." Qin Sheng suddenly thought of Yang Deng, who was behind Yang Deng. So he asked subconsciously, "Uncle Chow, have you contacted Third Master Wu?" "Third Master Wu?" Chowda could not help laughing and said, "Qin Sheng, do you know who Third Master Wu is? His strength is not comparable to these people in Hangzhou. But among these people, there is also a background belonging to him." "I can try," Qin Sheng said with a serious face. Chowda was surprised and said, "You? I am definitely not qualified to meet Third Master Wu, but I know one of his adopted sons. With this kind of relationship, it will be more or less easier," Qin Sheng said honestly. Chowda squinted and stared at Qin Sheng. This Qin Sheng was really not simple. He knew people from all walks of life. Like father, like son. When Qin Sheng returned to the Qin family in the future, he dared not to think what kind of position he would be in at that time. "Okay, then you can try," Chowda said decisively. After coming back from Jiushi Rose Garden, Qin Sheng was thinking about asking Yang Deng to meet him. No matter whether it would work or not, he would try first. Chapter 227. A new beginning, new readers group has been established. Guangzhou Club, 228106218. Welcome to join. Chat here, urge me to update and become friends. Qin Sheng benefited the most from the change of Yuanda. At the age of 28, he succeeded in becoming the deputy general manager of Yuanda Holdings, which was a step further than when he was in Shanghai. At present, Qin Sheng's right-hand men were Chang Baji and Hao Lei. Chang Baji was in charge of Poly International. At the same time, he brought 2 martial nephews, Gu Qingyang and Gu Xiaobo, to help. Qin Sheng was really short of people at present, so he took the initiative to ask Chang Baji. After all, his martial nephews were not simple and could be put to use directly. As for Hao Lei, Qin Sheng was somewhat hesitant. He did intend to let Hao Lei come to Hangzhou and go to Yunding to control Song Wei. He could not let Hao Lei be Han Bing's driver all the time. It was a waste of his talent. However, Qin Sheng was too busy recently and had not discussed it with Hao Lei and Han Bing. Qin Sheng asked for 3 people from the group of old people in Shangshan Ruoshui. The first was Ms. and Qin Sheng thought that she was the most suitable to be the deputy general manager of a catering and entertainment management company. She was responsible for specific management, which could reduce his burden. The second was Liu Yuan and Yu Fengji. Liu Yuan could enter Poly International to help Chang Baji, while Yu Fengji could go to Guangyin Live. They were all outstanding in the service industry. After all, not everyone could stand firm in Shangshan Ruoshui. However, Qin Sheng really did not know whether Chang Baji could fool these 3 people to Hangzhou. Qin Sheng's lowest expectation for him was that as long as he could make them come to Hangzhou, he would do the rest. Chang Baji had kept the phone numbers of these people. After arriving in Shanghai, he first made an appointment with Liu Yuan. The two met in a cafe on Huaihai Road. Liu Yuan looked a little haggard. When he saw Chang Baji, he said, "Mr. Chang, I haven't seen you for more than half a year. Qin Sheng is missing, and you are also missing. We all left Shangshan Ruoshui. Things remain the same, but people have changed. Don't call me Mr. Chang, just call me Lao Chang." Chang Baji chuckled. He had a good impression of Liu Yuan. This young man was low-key and had no bad intentions. He was not a person who fawned on the rich and powerful. Otherwise, he would not have left Shangshan Ruoshui. After all, they were old friends. Liu Yuan was quite friendly when he saw Chang Baji. He said happily, "Okay, I'll call you Lao Chang." "Lao Chang, why do you suddenly think of me?" Chang Baji shook his head and said, "It's not that I miss you. Someone else misses you." "Who?" Liu Yuan frowned and said, "Is Qin Sheng back? You look a little tired. What's wrong? Is it because of work or your relationship?" Chang Baji didn't answer but changed the topic. Liu Yuan sighed and said, "Since I left Shangshan Ruoshui, I have changed 2 jobs. Now I am just getting used to this job. The salary is low, the work is tiring, and I often work overtime. It is not as glamorous as Shangshan Ruoshui." This was the foundation of life, and most young people were the same. After all, most people were ordinary people. At this age, they faced the most problems, such as getting married, buying a house and a car, raising children, aging parents, and so on. To put it bluntly, these pressures were all about money. In this society, it was difficult to do anything without money. Therefore, the internet always said that many people died at the age of 25. They were only buried when they were 70 or 80 years old. It was not that they wanted to die, but they had no choice. Now there is an opportunity in front of you. It depends on whether you are willing or not. A new job and a new life, but not in Shanghai, but in Hangzhou, Chang Baji said truthfully. Liu Yuan squinted and thought, "Hangzhou? You will know when you go there. Even if the result is not satisfactory, just take it as meeting an old friend." Chang Baji deliberately kept him in suspense. Liu Yuan guessed that this old friend must be Qin Sheng, but Chang Baji did not give him an answer. Liu Yuan thought about it and finally decided, "When?" "Wait for my call," Chang Baji said with satisfaction. When he met with Yu Fengji, it was already 2 days later. Yu Fengji had just returned to Shanghai. After resigning from Shangshan Ruoshui, Yu Fengji did not look for a job again. She knew that it was difficult to find someone who could satisfy her true desire, so she planned to travel. She went to the northeast, northwest, and southwest for more than half a year. She wanted to see the grassland, the desert, the Gobi, and the towering mountains in the north. Just in the evening, the two met at a restaurant not far from the community. Yu Fengji was still so delicate, not like an ordinary woman, and Chang Baji was still so calm, already extraordinary. "Lao Chang, I didn't expect you to be like me. If I knew we would travel together," Yu Fengji sighed after asking each other about the situation in the past 6 months. Chang Baji joked. I went to the deep mountains and forests. You may not like it. The scenery there is better. How do you know I don't like it? Yu Fengji put down the chopsticks, looked up and smiled. Chang Baji said casually, It's good, then we can go out together in the future and see the great rivers and mountains of our country. How about him? Is he okay? Yu Fengji said thoughtfully. Everyone knew that something must have happened, so Qin Sheng left without saying goodbye, but they did not know what exactly happened. Yu Fengji was very angry at that time. After all, she had sold herself to Qin Sheng, but Qin Sheng left without saying goodbye. So she tried to find out, only to know that something happened to Qin Sheng, and she did not know whether he was dead or alive. Half a year passed, there was still no news of Qin Sheng. Yu Fengji thought that Qin Sheng was really dead. Yu Fengji had very complicated feelings for this man who appeared in her life. Later she knew that she had feelings for Qin Sheng. She planned to return to Shanghai and start a new life, but she did not expect that Chang Baji would call her. At that time, she knew that Qin Sheng was not dead like the rumor said. He was definitely still alive. How do you know that I came to you? It was his idea? Chang Baji asked confusedly. Yu Fengji said honestly, Lao Chang, it seems that we did not have much contact at that time. You have no reason to come to me. I came to you because there is a new job in Hangzhou. I don't know if you are interested. Chang Baji sighed that this woman was really smart. Yu Fengji said with surprise, He is in Hangzhou? You will know when you go there, Chang Baji said playfully. The last one was Mizan, who was also the bone that Chang Baji felt was the most difficult to deal with. Mizan did not leave Shangshan Ruoshui like the others, but stayed there. She was still the vice president of Shangshan Ruoshui. It seemed that everything that happened had no impact on her, but now Shangshan Ruoshui had long lost its former glory. On the bench in Fuxing Park, Chang Baji was waiting for Mizan here. Mizan, who was dressed in professional attire, found Chang Baji according to the location he told her. She had a good impression of this man, who was introverted, calm, humorous, and strangely indifferent. It seemed that nothing was important in his eyes, which was also what she could not understand. When Mizan sat beside him, Chang Baji flirted with her. Why do I feel that we are having an affair? Mizan stared at Chang Baji and said, I haven't seen you for more than half a year. You are still the same. It seems that nothing has changed. You are the same, but you seem to be more beautiful, just a little haggard, Chang Baji praised. Women liked sweet words the most. No woman was an exception. Mizan laughed and said, I like this kind of words. As for haggard, alas, isn't it because of the mess of Shangshan Ruoshui? In the era of Boss Jiang, it was not so tiring now. Since you are not comfortable here, then change a job, Chang Baji said tentatively. Mizan sighed and said, Now, it is not so easy to find a decent job. I will just stay here and muddle along day by day. This is not the Mizan I know. Now there is a chance in front of you. Can you try? Chang Baji said slowly. Mizan raised her eyebrows and said, What do you mean? Hangzhou, the vice president of a restaurant and entertainment management company, the salary and treatment will definitely satisfy you, and you will meet many old friends. Are you interested in going to Hangzhou with me? Chang Baji said directly. Mizan suddenly smiled and said, Lao Chang, you are not going to work for a headhunting company, are you? This time you come to Shanghai, are you going to poach me to Hangzhou? That is part of the reason. The main reason is that I want to take you to meet old friends, Chang Baji said without hiding. Mizan frowned and said, Old friends, I am very curious about who are your old friends? You will know when you get there. If you are not interested, you can come back again. Just take it as a trip to Hangzhou for 2 days. Chang Baji continued to fool Mizan. Mizan hesitated for a moment and said, Let me think about it. 3 days later, in the box of Hangzhou West Lake Ziwiguan, when Mizan, Yu Fengji, and Liu Yuan met, they could not help but be shocked. They did not expect that there would be other acquaintances. Everyone became more and more curious about what was going on. They began to guess whether Qin Shing was back. They had not seen each other for more than half a year. After greeting each other, they could not help but sigh with emotion. In the past, Shangshan Ruoshui was so lively, and it was a golden signboard of private clubs in Shanghai. Unfortunately, after Boss Jiang had an accident, it was acquired, and now it had been reduced to an ordinary private club. What a pity! Lao Chang, we have arrived in Hangzhou, it is time to solve the mystery, Liu Yuan said impatiently. Mizan also echoed, it is meaningless to keep us guessing. In fact, we all know that it is Qin Shing, but after all, it is just a guess and needs to be verified, Yu Fengji said with full confidence. If it were not Qin Shing, she would definitely leave here without hesitation. Chang Baji looked at the time and chuckled. He should be here soon. When Chang Baji's voice just fell, the door of the box was pushed open. Qin Shing, who was wearing a bright suit, walked in slowly with a smile. Everyone's face changed instantly. Sure enough, they had guessed right. If at this time there was the music of the god of gamblers, Gao Jing, it would be really amazing. Qin Shing, Mizan shouted subconsciously. Liu Yuan walked straight over and directly gave Qin Shing a punch. Maid, I know it is you, boy. You are still alive, we all thought you were dead. Yu Fengji stared at Qin Shing with a complicated look, but she did not say anything. She felt somewhat wronged in her heart. Qin Shing also looked at her with embarrassment. Chapter 228. Retribution comes. Many people are still asking what is the name of Old Guan's WeChat public account. Again, I tell you, just search for Old Guan Zhong or Xloran in the WeChat public account. Old Guan will update some news and recommend interesting things on the WeChat public account from time to time. We will set up a WeChat reader group later, please pay attention to it. The answer was finally revealed. It was expected. But when everyone saw Qin Shing again, they were still a little surprised. After all, speculation was not the truth. Moreover, Qin Shing had disappeared for so long and there were so many rumors outside. No one knew whether this old friend was Qin Shing or not. They did not expect that it was really Qin Shing. Most of the time, life was ordinary and uneventful. Occasionally, there would be ups and downs, but it was often these occasional events that inadvertently changed everyone's life. Half a year ago, they were leisurely in Shangshan Ruoshui. The circle of the upper class, the high-class working environment, the colleagues full of handsome men and beautiful women, and the enviable salary, everything was so perfect. Everyone was using the platform of Shangshan Ruoshui to get the resources they wanted for them. But the successive changes disrupted everyone's plan. Qin Shing, who wanted to be the general manager of Shangshan Ruoshui, was chased and then homeless. Yu Fengji and Liu Yuan resigned one after another. Although everything was good here, they could not stand that kind of atmosphere. Only the old fox Mizan continued to stay there, but she had long lost her original enthusiasm. It seemed that she was waiting to die. After all, Shangshan Ruoshui could not give her what she wanted. Although everyone wanted to say 1,000 words, they still restrained their inner excitement. Under the suggestion of Chang Baji, the host and guests were seated. There were no outsiders here today, only old friends of Shangshan Ruoshui. Qin Shing, where have you been for the past 6 months? We couldn't get in touch with you at all. We thought you really disappeared for no reason. Liu Yuan sighed. He was not as smart as Yu Fengji. When Han Zhengdong announced that Qin Shing had resigned for personal reasons, everyone was surprised. But Qin Shing's girlfriend came to find Qin Shing before, and she seemed to be very anxious at that time. Yu Fengji felt that something was wrong, so she asked around and got the result. Liu Yuan later asked Chang Baji, but Chang Baji did not say anything. After all, other people's lives were other people's lives, and most people only cared about their own lives. Since it had been a long time, Hu Han-san had already gotten over it. So he said calmly, Something happened, so I disappeared for more than half a year and didn't contact you. It's my fault. I hope you can forgive me. But now I'm back, so I want to gather with my old friends. Why don't you go back to Shanghai or Shangshan Ruoshui? Mizan asked curiously. Qin Sheng sighed. I can't. What did this mean? Everyone fell into deep thought, but they did not ask anything. They definitely knew that many things had happened. Yu Fengji, who was sitting opposite Qin Sheng, said with a complicated look in her eyes, It's good that you're back. Fengji, are you okay? Qin Sheng had mixed feelings about Yu Fengji. After all, many things had happened between them. He had made a promise to Yu Fengji back then, but things remained the same, but people had changed. Yu Fengji looked straight into Qin Sheng's eyes, pursed her lips, and smiled faintly as she said, Not bad, not good, not bad either. I just returned to Shanghai. Qin Sheng did not know what else to say. Luckily, Mizan helped him out at this time. She took the initiative to ask, Qin Sheng, You asked Lao Chong to invite us to Hangzhou this time. It's not that simple, is it? Lao Chong told us that he wants us to work in Hangzhou. Could it be your idea? Liu Yuan echoed, That's right. Qin Sheng, don't keep us guessing. Just tell us what you want to say. If it's within our ability, we will definitely promise you. Qin Sheng looked at the crowd and hesitated for a while. In the end, he said slowly, Actually, Lao Chong knows everything about me. I contacted Lao Chong as soon as I returned to Hangzhou. I've been in Hangzhou for more than a month. A lot of things have happened in this month. I happened to work for an uncle and was lucky enough to get a position. Now my uncle's group is undergoing reform. The subsidiary I'm in charge of needs a lot of talent. So I thought of you. Are you interested in helping me? When Qin Sheng first walked into the box, everyone felt that the current Qin Sheng seemed to be different from the Qin Sheng in the past. In the past, Qin Sheng was full of confidence. Now, Qin Sheng had a kind of reserved temperament, more and more like those big shots they met in Shangshan Ruoshui. They did not doubt what Qin Sheng said. After all, Qin Sheng and the big boss Jiang Xianbang had a close relationship. Oh, if we go to Hangzhou we can decide what to do. What do you think? Mizan was not like Yu Fengji and Liu Yuan. Liu Yuan might make an impulsive decision because of his personal feelings for Qin Sheng. Yu Fengji was also very likely to agree because they had been through too many things. But Mizan needed to see the most direct benefit. Qin Sheng explained truthfully, This company is called Yuanda Holding Group. I'm currently the vice president of this company. I'm mainly responsible for the catering and entertainment management companies, nightclubs, bars and so on. Because I'm not familiar with management, I want Mizan to be the vice president of this company and be responsible for the most direct management work. Fengji is in charge of the bar. I want to make it a famous live house in Hangzhou. Liu Yuan will follow Lao Chong and help him manage these two nightclubs. Finally, the most direct treatment will absolutely satisfy you. What do you mean? After Qin Sheng finished speaking, he stared at the people present. Everyone was lost in thought. Everyone knew that those who could open nightclubs and bars in a city were powerful big shot. But these things involved some gray industries, so they were worried. Liu Yuan was the first to express his opinion. Anyway, after he left Shangshan Ruoshui, his work was not smooth. So it was better to come to Hangzhou and hang around with Qin Sheng and Lao Chong. It might be better. So he said, Okay, I'll come to Hangzhou. Qin Sheng looked at Liu Yuan with a smile and nodded slightly, more or less grateful. Yu Fengji had been staring at Qin Sheng. She was an ambitious woman, and Qin Sheng knew it very well. So she asked, Do you know what I want? I know, Qin Sheng squinted and replied. Others were a little curious and did not know what they meant. Yu Fengji whispered, If you can give me what I want, I'll stay in Hangzhou. I'll try my best, but I can't guarantee. Qin Sheng was no longer like before. After all, he did not do what he promised Yu Fengji. If he made a promise easily and broke his promise again, Yu Fengji would be completely disappointed. Yu Fengji was very satisfied with Qin Shing's answer. She smiled charmingly and said, "Okay, I promise you to come to Hangzhou, but I can't guarantee when I will leave. It depends on your performance." Yu Fengji and Liu Yuan both agreed. Finally, it was the key Ms. and had been thinking. She did not answer Qin Shing directly, but said with a faint smile, "Qin Shing, to be honest, this is a little sudden. I'm not ready yet. This time I'm here mainly to meet my old friends. I'll go back and think about it, and then I'll give you the result. How about it? I'll wait for your news, but I still sincerely invite you to come to Hangzhou, so that we, the old people of Shangshan Ruoshui, can open up a new world," Qin Shing said confidently. After dinner, Qin Shing was ready to leave. He had booked a room in the Four Seasons Hotel for everyone. They could stay for as many days as they wanted. As for the joining of Yu Fengji and Liu Yuan, Chang Baji and the company's personnel would follow up. But Qin Shing hoped that they could arrive in Hangzhou within a week. After all, the new company needed them for many things. When Qin Shing just walked to the parking lot, Yu Fengji ran out and blocked his way. Qin Shing was a little embarrassed and said, "Fengji, what's wrong? Do you really think that I can forgive you after you bullied me and broke your promise? After disappearing for so long, you came back and said a few good words?" Yu Fengji stared at Qin Shing and snorted. Qin Shing said very sincerely, "Fengji, I'm sorry. There are some things that I can't help." "Don't say sorry. I know all about you. I want to know how you will make it up to me in the future." Yu Fengji said stubbornly, "You know why I promised you to come to Hangzhou. It's not because of this job, nor because of the so-called old friend. It's just because of you. Fengji, I was too young before. I hope you can forgive me." Qin Shing still had the same attitude. Yu Fengji snorted and said, "I won't forgive you. I won't forget what you have done to me. I just want to ask you, how will you make it up to me?" Qin Shing was a little embarrassed and did not know how to respond. "After disappearing for half a year, I thought you were dead. You came back without telling me. I want to know what position I, Yu Fengji, have in your heart. Do you know how much I miss you?" Yu Fengji questioned. In the end, she said what she wanted to say most impulsively. Qin Shing shook his head and sighed. "I have a girlfriend. I know. I have seen her, but I don't care." Yu Fengji directly stopped what Qin Shing wanted to say. Qin Shing was also a little surprised. He did not expect that Yu Fengji actually had feelings for him. After all, their previous relationship was based on interest. Qin Shing was speechless. Yu Fengji suddenly tiptoed and put her arms around Qin Shing's neck. She even kissed Qin Shing without hesitation. Qin Shing did not expect this at all. He was subconsciously stunned and looked surprised. In the end, Qin Shing still pushed Yu Fengji away. "Fengji, calm down." Qin Shing frowned and said. Yu Fengji sneered and said, "Qin Shing, I won't let you go like this. Since we have already done that, I will rely on you for the rest of my life. Just wait and see." After saying this, Yu Fengji turned around and went back to the hotel, leaving the dumbfounded Qin Shing in a mess in the parking lot. The security guard who was not far away had a face full of envy. If such a beauty became his wife, he would probably have no regrets in this life. However, he did not know how helpless Qin Shing felt. In the end, he could only sigh. Who asked him to do this? Now he finally got his retribution. As expected, only women and villains were hard to deal with. He could only think of a way to solve this problem slowly. Chapter 229. He is your son. I recommend a book, The Best Almighty Master. You can read it online. I hope you can support it. Liu Yuan and Yu Fengji had promised to come to Hangzhou. Even if Mizan refused, Qin Shing would be satisfied. He could find another way to get the position of vice president, such as hiring a headhunter or asking Xue Qinyan to recommend him. However, Qin Sheng was worried that his relationship with Yu Fengji might be a hidden danger in the future, which made him somewhat scrupulous. Song Wei was in charge of Yunding International, so it was normal as usual. However, Poly International was in a mess after Qian Buping left. Qin Sheng had to go to Poly International to preside over the overall situation and let Chang Baji take over the work and adapt to the new environment here. Qin Sheng held a meeting with all the management. To put it bluntly, he wanted to calm people down and warn them not to hide their intentions. The general content was, no matter what relationship you had with Mr. Qian before, from today on, Poly International will be managed by Mr. Chang. If you don't want to work, you can resign and leave directly. I won't stop you. If you want to stay here, you have to do things according to the rules, or I will let you leave. At the same time, Qin Sheng borrowed a team led by the financial manager from the group to figure out the financial situation of Poly International and complete some procedures. Qin Sheng had to ensure the stability of Poly International. Qian Buping and others would definitely try to make trouble. Especially in the security department, there were only a few ordinary security guards left. Fortunately, Chang Baji's two martial nephews could take care of them, so Qin Sheng was more or less relieved. Therefore, he had to talk to Yang Deng as soon as possible. Secondly, there was the public relations department. Those resources were the guarantee of Poly International's business. With the influence of Yuan Ku and the others, they could totally take drastic measures to deal with them. As a result, Qin Sheng asked Chang Baji to look for several influential figures in the public relations department quickly to have a talk. Qin Sheng asked Yang Deng out for a drink in the evening without any reason. Yang Deng did not think much about it and went out. He thought that Qin Sheng regarded him as a friend. The place to drink was Huanglong food stall. Qin Sheng just came out of Guangyin Live in the evening, so he chose the nearby place. He had already informed Yu Yixiao that he had found a deputy manager in charge of management, marketing and so on, and she was a beautiful woman. Yu Yixiao already knew the change of Yuanda Group. Qin Sheng had become the deputy manager and was also in charge of the catering and entertainment subsidiaries. Now, he was his immediate boss, so he had to cooperate with Qin Sheng. When he heard about beauties, Yu Yixiao's eyes lit up. Which man didn't like beauties? He was looking forward to meeting this beautiful new partner and wanted to see what Qin Sheng could do to Guangyin Live. Why do you want to drink with me? Yang Dengang came directly after he finished his work. His subordinates sent him directly to the entrance of the Yellow Dragon food stall. Qin Sheng arrived early. He ordered a plate of tripe and peanuts and waited for Yang Deng. He smiled and said, "Do I need a reason to drink? I don't have many friends in Hangzhou. It seems that you regard me as a friend. The wine tonight is worth it. Even if you make me drunk, I will accept it." Yang Deng, who was usually serious in speech and manner, could occasionally smile when he was with Qin Sheng. He really regarded Qin Sheng as a like-minded friend. Qin Sheng scolded him with a smile, "Stop talking nonsense. Sit down and drink." In summer, iced beer, barbecued meat, and seafood went well with each other. Qin Sheng and Yang Deng ordered 2 boxes of Thousand Island Lake beer. Tonight, whoever finished the beer would go home. After drinking 2 bottles of beer while chatting casually, Yang Deng began to say seriously, "How are you doing at Chao Da's place? I heard that you have been promoted and your salary increased recently." "You really care about me more than anyone else," Qin Sheng said with a smile. After that, he picked up his glass and toasted with Yang Deng. Yang Deng said happily, "I am very interested in you. You and I know each other well. Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai are so big. It won't take long for Yan Chaozong to know that you are in Hangzhou. At that time, he will make trouble for you. What will you do? Yan Chaozong has a strong background in Shanghai. Many rich playboys in Zhejiang are hanging around there. Many of them are familiar with him. At that time, you have to be careful. I know what you mean, but what can I do? I can't reach the sky in one step. I can only do it step by step, Qin Shing said helplessly. The truth was the truth. Yang Deng chuckled and said, That's why I asked you. It's okay. Now that I have become a vice president, at least I have a foundation. I can continue to work hard slowly, Qin Shing explained. Yang Deng sighed and said, I still say the same thing. Chowda is no longer the Chowda in the past. Now he has no room to improve at all. If Yen Chaozong makes trouble for you, he can't protect you at all. You have to think clearly. I'll take one step at a time. If I really can't do it, I will definitely come to you shamelessly, Qin Shing said with a smile. Yang Deng raised his head and drank a glass of beer. He looked directly at Qin Shing and said, Tell me, why did you come to me today? What do you want me to help you with? Can you not be so direct? Qin Shing said with an embarrassed look. Yang Deng said disdainfully, How can I not know people like you? How can you invite me to drink for no reason? Unless I take the initiative to invite you to drink. Am I so stingy? Qin Shing said happily. Yang Deng ate a mouthful of food and poured himself a glass of beer. He raised his head and said, Tell me, what is it? I will try my best within my ability. Actually, it's not a big deal. I just want to find a partner and ask you to help me. After all, you are Third Master Wu's adopted son, Qin Shing said slowly. Yang Deng frowned and said, Be more detailed. There are several nightclubs and bars under Mr. Chow's Yuanda. After the reorganization of Yuanda, I am in charge of the remaining 2 nightclubs and 1 bar. Previously, the security over there was handled by the subordinates of Yuan Ku, the second shareholder of Yuanda. Mr. Chow and Yuan Ku parted ways, so we can only find a new partner. I think Third Master Wu's side is the most suitable, Qin Shing said in detail. After listening to him, Yang Deng finally understood Qin Shing's purpose today. He was lost in thought for a while and said, Yuan Ku is not simple. He is the old monk's adopted son. Foster father and the old monk have always minded their own business. If we snatch this business, I am afraid that the old monk will feel uncomfortable. Foster father does not want to fall out with the old monk for such a trivial matter. The old monk? Qin Shing did not explain. Yang Deng knew that Qin Shing was new here and definitely did not know these big shots, so he explained, The reason why the old monk is called the old monk is that he was a monk when he was young. His master was a master. At that time, he knew a lot of big shots. After he returned to the secular life, he relied on this relationship to get to where he is today step by step. There are no more than 3 people in the whole Zhujiang who can be on an equal footing with my foster father. The old monk is one of them. Moreover, my foster father has been devoted to Buddhism these years and often hangs out with the old monk. This is really not easy to deal with. We are just talking about business. We are just choosing a new partner. It should not be so deep, Qin Shing said casually. Yang Deng continued, Well, I know Yuan Ku. He is not a good guy. Many people have been cheated by him. Chowda is one of them. Hangzhou is now famous for its oriental charm. At the beginning, Chowda was the main investor. That should be his most glorious time. In the end, Yuan Ku kicked him out of the game and it became his group's industry. In the past 2 years, it has made a lot of money, which is comparable to my 4th brother's Huadu Club. Qin Shing said with some disappointment, So there is no room for negotiation? Qin Shing said somewhat disappointedly, It is not that there is no room for negotiation. It is just how to negotiate. Foster father and the old monk mind their own business. On our side, there are many people who dislike Yuan Ku. Some of them are even sworn enemies of Yuan Ku. I will ask about this matter later and see who is interested in taking over. At that time, as long as the old monk does not show up, there should be no problem. Qin Shing smiled and said, I don't think it will be so serious. It is such a small matter. Yang Deng nodded quietly and said, Well, there should be no problem. You just wait for my news. In the Sihiyuan of the Qin family in Sizhou City, Qin Chang'an had just finished his work and returned home. During this period of time, Qin Ran had been living in the Sihiyuan, which made Qin Chang'an feel quite good. He also knew that Qin Ran had just returned from Hangzhou and brought back the latest news about Qin Shing. Qin Ran, who was watching TV in the living room, saw her father coming back. She stood up in a hurry and said, Dad, you came back so late again. Qin Chang'an sighed and said, There is no one to help me. I can only work hard like this. Qin Ran knew what her father was implying, so she quickly changed the topic to her brother. You just wait for another 2 years. At that time, when my brother comes back, you can train him well and let him take over your position. At that time, you can have a good rest. Qin Chang'an did not count on it. He shook his head and said, I can't count on that guy. His temper is the same as mine. I guess even if he reconciles with me, he may not come back to Beijing. So, you have to get married quickly. At that time, I will leave this mess to you. Qin Ran did not fall into his trap and said disapprovingly, Oh, then take your time and wait. Qin Chang'an did not know whether to laugh or cry. He said, You naughty girl. By the way, I heard that you went to Hangzhou. How is that guy recently? Qin Chang'an asked casually. In fact, he was quite concerned about Qin Shing. Since Qin Shing had arrived in Hangzhou, he had been too busy to care about him. Speaking of her brother, Qin Ran smiled and said, If you want to know, then you can go by yourself. He is your son. Why do I feel that you are complaining? Qin Chang'an took the mung bean soup from the nanny, drank 2 mouthfuls and said with a smile. Qin Ran did not respond. Instead, she stopped smiling and said seriously, Dad, this time I saw my brother and had a good talk with him. I can feel that he has suffered a lot in these years. I also want to ask you something. You should have hidden it from me. What is it? Qin Chang'an said with a smile. Qin Ran stared at Qin Chang'an and said, What happened to him in Shanghai? What kind of injury did he suffer? So that he had to leave Shanghai and recuperate in Xiamen for half a year before finally coming to Hangzhou? Qin Chang'an's expression changed slightly. He did not expect that Qin Ran would know. It seemed that this matter could not be hidden anymore. Seeing that her father did not say anything, Qin Ran was a little angry and said, Even if you are not willing to tell me, I can find a way to find out. Since you are not willing to show up for some things, I don't mind fighting for him. At this time, Gong Sun walked into the living room. After greeting Qin Ran, he said to Qin Chang'an, Master, eldest master of the Chen family said that he will visit you tomorrow morning. He has something important to tell you. Chen Luaha? Qin Chang'an frowned and said, What can he want to see me for? Gong Sun was only responsible for informing Qin Chang'an. As for what it was, of course, he did not know. Qin Chang'an thought for a while and said, Okay, I got it. I will wait for him tomorrow. After that, he turned around and looked at Qin Ran. What do you want to know? Just ask Gong Sun. He will tell you. I am a little tired. I will go to rest first. Chapter 230. Let out a breath of resentment. Second update, a new month. Please get a guaranteed monthly ticket. Thank you, everyone. Qin Chang'an knew that Qin Ran was very capable. Not to mention her small circle, it was just a matter of time for her uncle to find out about these things with his power. Moreover, his uncle's husband was a big shot in Shanghai's political circle. Therefore, he definitely could not hide it from her. Otherwise, if she found out about it, the relationship between father and daughter, which had been eased with great difficulty, would become stiff again. Qin Chang'an could not tell Qin Ran face to face. He was really afraid that his daughter would not save him face. Therefore, he could only let Gongsun, who knew the inside story, tell Qin Ran. Qin Ran frowned at the beginning. From how Qin Sheng was bullied by Yan Chaozong to how he was in danger several times in a row, how he was framed by Yan Chaozong and the others, to how he almost died on Mount Zhihua and recovered after being seriously injured for half a year, Qin Ran's tears instantly flowed out. She finally understood why she felt that her brother was so mature that night. She also felt that he was under a lot of pressure, as if he was very tired. After experiencing these things, how could he not be like this? In the end, Qin Ran, who clenched her fists and had tears all over her face, completely exploded. She shouted this sentence angrily. Obviously, she was questioning Qin Chang'an. He is your son. He is already like this. Don't you feel sorry for him? Do you have to wait for him to die before you do what a father should do? Qin Ran had not been so sad for a long time. She could not understand what Qin Chang'an was thinking. She squatted on the ground and cried bitterly. She felt sorry for her brother more than anyone else. She felt sorry for her brother being bullied. She felt sorry for her brother being so seriously injured. She felt sorry for her brother who was so strong. She felt sorry for her brother who was still smiling and looking forward. But the more her brother behaved like this, the more she felt sorry for him. "Mom!" Qin Ran cried pitifully while hugging her head. She hadn't cried so sadly for a long time. Even when she saw her younger brother after so many years, she only smiled and cried because that was happiness. But now she was really heartbroken. Gongsun was somewhat at a loss. He did not know what to do. Qin Ran's calling of Mom made him completely lose his sense of propriety. He felt sorry for Qin Ran the most. He knew how painful it was for her to call this. Gongsun could not help but blame Qin Chang'an in his heart. You insisted that I tell her. Why should I tell her? I should hide it from her as long as I can. What should I do now? Ran, don't cry. I know you care about Qin Sheng, but your father has his own difficulties. Besides, it's not like your father didn't help Qin Sheng vent his anger. Gongsun squatted on the ground and patted Qin Ran's back to comfort her. Qin Ran cried like a child who would never grow up. If her mother knew that her brother had suffered so much, she would feel so sad. She said with grievance, I miss my mother. My mother will definitely protect me and my brother. Boo-hoo. These words made Gongsun feel even worse. He really didn't know what to do. He could only shout into the room, Master, are you going to do something? What should we do? In the study room, Qin Chang'an lit a cigarette. He had not tasted the smell of cigarettes for a long time. He sighed helplessly. In the end, he did not say anything or come out. He just let Qin Ran cry outside. As a father, how could he not be distressed? However, there were some things that he had to be so cruel. After a long time, Gongsun finally comforted Qin Ran and stopped crying. He was really thankful. If she continued to cry, he really didn't know what to do. Qin Chang'an, if you don't care about him, I will go to Grandma and Uncle. Qin Ran, who was stubborn, stood up and wiped away her tears. She directly said this and prepared to leave the Sihiyuan. Gongsun was scared out of his wits. If Qin Ran really went to the Zhu family, it would be a big deal. At that time, he didn't know how to end it. Qin Chang'an's good intentions would also be in vain. Consequently, Gongsun directly pulled Qin Ran and said, Ran, stop fooling around. Calm down. Listen to what I have to say and then you can make a decision, okay? What else is there to say? Qin Ran said with grievance. Gongsun said earnestly, It's not what you think. You don't know what happened later. It's not that your father didn't do anything. During this period, the Yan family, the Lin family, and the Yi family were not living well. This was all done by your father. Do you know why your father didn't stand out directly? It's not because your father didn't reconcile with Qin Sheng, but because he couldn't do so. Why? Qin Ran was a little confused. Gongsun said firmly, Because this is Qin Sheng's grudge, not your father's. It must be handled by Qin Sheng. If one day you reconcile with each other, Qin Sheng will take the initiative to ask your father for help. At that time, your father can only stand out. Do you understand? Hearing this, Qin Ran finally calmed down and could not help but fall into deep thought. There are men's rules in the world of men. You have to think from Qin Sheng's point of view, not on your side, Gongsun continued. Qin Ran did not say anything. She pondered over Gongsun's words. After a long time, she understood. She wiped away her tears and said, I know, but I won't let him live so well. After saying this, Qin Ran directly drove away from the Sihiyuan. Gongsun was a little helpless. He really didn't know what trouble Qin Ran would cause. At this time, Qin Chang'an finally came out. Gongsun hurriedly ran over and said, Master, why do you have to do this? What should we do now? Qin Chang'an said thoughtfully, Let her go. She will have a sense of propriety. To say the least, no matter how big a disturbance she causes, I will stand behind her. I will never let her get hurt. As long as she can vent out her anger, it will be fine. This was what a father should do in the early morning, when Qin Chang'an and Gongsun just came back from the alley. The eldest master of the Chen family mentioned by Gongsun came to visit. As long as Qin Chang'an lived in the Sihiyuan, he would take a stroll in the alley most of the time. He still liked the atmosphere of old Beijing. The neighbors were walking around. However, there were many big shots living in this alley, so he could only walk a little farther. The advantage was that he did not have to worry about the security environment at all. The housekeeper had already made tea. Qin Chang'an walked into the living room and said with a smile, What brings you here, Lao Chen? How have you been? You are so busy. When will you think of me? If I don't come today, I don't know when I will see you again. Chen Luoha, the eldest master of the Chen family, said disapprovingly. His driver and bodyguards were arranged to stay in the side room. Chen Luoha's face was thin and angular. His eyebrows were very thick, and his eyes were shining. It seemed that he was not an ordinary person. He was holding a pair of high-quality walnuts in his hands. They were lion head walnuts produced in the 4th building, which were the most valuable among the walnuts. Of course, the eldest master of the Qin family was not short of money. Although the Qin family and the Chen family had a deep relationship, and the old master of the Chen family and the old master of the Qin family were also close friends, the juniors of the Chen family seldom talked to each other. After all, the relationship between the fathers and the juniors was the relationship between the fathers and the juniors. Qin Chang'an chuckled and said, No matter how busy I am, I can't be as busy as you. Chen Luoha shook his head and sighed bitterly. Let's not flatter each other and be modest. There is a huge gap between our levels. If I say these things in front of you, I will be humiliated. You are flattering me. Qin Chang'an picked up the teacup and said politely, Old Chen, what brings you here today? Chen Luoha smiled and said, You don't come here for nothing. I definitely have something to tell you. But it's not about me. It's about the Qin family. Qin Chang'an asked with interest, What's the matter that you need me to come here in person? Old Qin, other people might not know about the Qin family, but how could our Chen family not know about it? Back then, old Master Qin took away our grandson, and our Chen family knows it better than anyone else. Today we came to find you because of your son, said Chen Luoha slowly. Qin Chang'an's expression changed slightly. What do you mean? Chen Luoha smiled and explained, 2 days ago, a friend of the old master in Hangzhou asked about his whereabouts. I asked him a few more questions. It seemed to be about the descendants of the Qin family. Since they came to the Chen family to talk about the descendants of the Qin family, it must be about the Qin family. I could only think of your son. That's why I came here to inform you. Qin Chang'an said thoughtfully, Really? Why would I lie to you? As for the details, the friend of the old master didn't tell me. He said that he could only tell me after seeing the old master. I don't know where the old master is at all. So I thought that if you went there, he might tell you. Chen Luoha told Qin Chang'an the truth. Obviously, he had a selfish reason to tell Qin Chang'an. If Qin Chang'an really found his son, he would obviously remember this favor. He and Qin Chang'an were not at the same level at all. He needed Qin Chang'an for many things. This favor might be a coveted benefit. Qin Chang'an did not expect that Chen Luoha had already known about Qin Shing's matter. At present, he had been keeping this matter under control. If Chen Luoha really knew about it, it would be a little troublesome. At least he did not want this news to be leaked now. Otherwise, it would be a little troublesome. So Qin Chang'an made a prompt decision and said, "Old Chen, may I know the name of your friend?" "Lu Xinghai, a famous man in Hangzhou." "Of course you can find out," Chen Luoha said with a smile. Qin Chang'an nodded quietly and said, "Old Chen, thank you. There is no need for such polite words between our two families. Okay, since I have told you everything, I will not disturb you, busy person. I will leave first," Chen Luoha said satisfactorily. He had done what he should do and was only waiting for the return. Qin Chang'an replied, "Then I will not keep you. Gongsun, send old Chen off for me." "Grandpa Chen, please," Gongsun said respectfully. After Gongsun sent Chen Luoha off and came back, Qin Chang'an directly ordered, "Go to Hangzhou." First, Qin Chang'an went to Hangzhou to find out the ins and outs of this matter. Then he would destroy the source of the news. He must not let others know. Second, he wanted to see Qin Shing, which was also a kind of compensation to Qin Shing. Chapter 231. A descendant of the Qin family. With the Qin family and the Zhu family's support, Qin Ran had been in this circle since she was young. Most of her childhood friends were from rich families. This kind of relationship was self-evident. It was not the kind of relationship that forced her into the circle. Moreover, Qin Ran was a great beauty. Naturally, she was surrounded by many rich families. Qin Ran called 3 friends out for a chat. There were 2 men and 1 woman. They were all from rich families and had grown up together. The power of their circle was not small. The woman sitting beside Qin Ran was called Ma Weiyang. When she was young, everyone called her Little Ponytail. She was quite pretty, but still far from Qin Ran. However, this woman had a strong personality. She was really a wild horse. She was the youngest in her family. Everyone spoiled her. When she was young, she liked to hang out with the boys. Her father and Qin Chang'an were very close. Now, he was in a high position. Most importantly, her husband was a soldier with a similar family background. The other 2 men were already in their 30s. Their family backgrounds were similar to Ma Weiyang's. The one called Zhang De was the deputy general manager of a central enterprise. The one called Fandaji was the deputy director of a national ministry. Recently, he was going to be transferred to another place. "Ran, why did you call us here so early in the morning? Is there anything urgent?" Ma Weiyang said carelessly. She was the agent of a few brands. Her life was quite enjoyable. Moreover, because of her family, she did not dare to mess around. Ma Weiyang knew when to stop. After all, there were too many examples in this day and age. Zhang De was wearing glasses. He looked a little sly. After all, as the deputy general manager of a subsidiary of a central enterprise, if he did not have some skills, how could he be like a fish in water? He said playfully, "It's rare that Miss Qin would treat us to coffee. Tell us, what do you need our help with?" Fandaji was very calm. Perhaps it was because his career was different from the other 2, so he was more cautious in doing things. "I was bullied. Are you guys going to do something about it?" Qin Ran said with a face full of grievance. She had no scruples when she was with her best friends. Anyway, they all knew what she was like. After hearing this, the 3 of them stared at Qin Ran with a dumbfounded look. "Are you sure it's not you bullying others when they bully you?" Zhang De asked in disbelief. Ma Weiyang also said happily, "Who dares to bully you? Is he tired of living? Doesn't he know who you are? Tell me, which blind dog is he? I'll pray for him." Ma Weiyang also said happily, "Who dares to bully you?" Qin Ran heard what they said and sighed. "Alas, I'm really unlucky to have made friends with you guys. If I had known this earlier, I would have found someone else." Fandaji, who had been silent all this while, said in a deep voice, "Stop fooling around. Let Ran Ran tell us what's going on." "We were just joking." Ma Weiyang pouted. She was a charming young woman. Qin Ran said thoughtfully, "Don't worry about it. You just need to accompany me to Shanghai to vent my anger. Their family is quite powerful in Shanghai. As a woman, I am somewhat afraid." "Shanghai?" Ma Weiyang muttered in a low voice. "Their foundation is in Shanghai. There are only a few who are famous. They are definitely not the playboys from Siju City. If they dare to bully you, they must not know your background. Ran Ran, you should ask young Master Song for this kind of trouble. If he goes to Shanghai, no one will dare to say anything," Zhang De said half-jokingly. Qin Ran directly refused. "I don't want to ask him. Stop talking nonsense. Are you going or not?" Qin Ran seemed to be angry. After hearing this, Fandaji decided directly, "I'll go with you." Seeing that Lao Fan had made his stand, the other two could only nod hurriedly and said, "Go, go, go. It's just making trouble. Who are we afraid of?" In Hangzhou, Qin Sheng was not idle these 2 days. There were a lot of things to do in Yuanda. Moreover, there were all kinds of trivial things in the subsidiary company. Mizan still did not reply to him. Qin Sheng had already begun to make other plans. He could not keep dragging it. Just when Qin Sheng was busy, Master Lu's right-hand man called Qin Sheng and asked him to come to Maijiao. He said that there was news from there. Qin Sheng was quite excited when he heard this. He did not expect that there would be news so soon. He quickly drove to Maijiao. This courtyard in Maijiao was a place that Master Lu had decided many years ago to live in when he was old. The construction started 5 years ago. He hired a famous designer, such as the Peach Blossom Garden in Green City in Suzhou, who was a good friend of Master Lu for many years. Therefore, he helped Master Lu to design this courtyard for free. This time, Qin Sheng drove directly to the courtyard. After parking the car, the right-hand man took him straight to the backyard. It was still the long pavilion with infinite scenery. Master Lu had a guest there today. "Master Lu, this painting of yours is worth 1,000 words from others. This time, you have helped me so much. I really don't know how to thank you," a middle-aged man with a big belly said politely. Sitting under the long pavilion, a beauty in a Chong Sam was making tea. Master Lu sat opposite him, holding a cup of Longjing tea before the Ming dynasty. He smelled the fragrance and tasted the tea. The tea set used to make the tea was a gift from a master in Jingdezhen. It was very expensive and could only be found. It was impolite not to reciprocate. Therefore, Master Lu also gave the master a piece of calligraphy in return. It was a favor. After putting down the teacup, Master Lu smiled and said, "Xiao He, don't flatter me anymore. This is all I can do. How can I be compared with you?" "Master Lu, you can't say that. In our Hangzhou city, everyone is proud to know you. If I give this piece of calligraphy to him, the old leader will be very happy." The middle-aged man laughed and said. Master Lu had long been used to this kind of life. He was not the kind of person who could really live alone. He smiled and said, "You, when it comes to eloquence, no one can beat you." At this time, the right-hand man brought Qin Sheng over. Seeing that Master Lu had a guest, Qin Sheng said respectfully, "Master Lu. Xiao Qin, you are here. Come, sit down and drink tea." Master Lu waved and shouted. His expression was obviously not pretentious. He really took Qin Sheng seriously. The middle-aged man raised his head and looked at Qin Sheng. He was quite puzzled. He had never seen any young man here who could receive such treatment. If those rich playboys in Hangzhou City wanted to marry into Master Lu's family, they had to come with their parents. Qin Sheng smiled and nodded to the middle-aged man. Master Lu, you still have a guest. Then I will leave first. I will disturb you another day. At that time, I will bring 2 bottles of good Shaoxing Nuerhong. The middle-aged man stood up and smiled at Qin Sheng at the same time. Master Lu did not introduce Qin Sheng to the middle-aged man. As long as Qin Sheng came here often, these guests knew better than anyone else. Naturally, they would take Qin Sheng seriously. After the middle-aged man left, Qin Sheng could not wait to ask, Master Lu, is there any news? Xiao Qin, don't be anxious. Drink a cup of tea and look at the calligraphy I just wrote. What do you think of it? Master Lu said calmly. Qin Sheng was a little anxious. He stood up patiently and looked at the calligraphy on the table. The ink had not dried yet. He said thoughtfully, Taoism follows nature. The calligraphy is good. It moves like a dragon and moves like a snake. It's bold and powerful. It's soft but firm. But if it's matched with these 4 words, it still feels like something is missing. I can't tell what it is, but it's just a feeling. After hearing that, Master Lu laughed and said, That's right. Only you dare to say that. I also feel that something is missing in this calligraphy. It should be a kind of spiritual qi. Qin Sheng sat down again and took the teacup handed by the beauty in Chong Sam. He drank it in one gulp. He could be calm about other things, but he really could not be calm about his family background. Seeing that you are so anxious, I will not keep you in suspense. Master Lu smiled and said, 2 days ago, I asked someone to contact the descendant of the Chen family. This person is called Chen Lua. He is also a famous master in Siju City. He is the eldest son of old Master Chen. I asked about old Master Chen and mentioned that the descendant of the Qin family wanted to see him. After hearing the descendant of the Qin family, he asked, Which Qin family? I said it was old Master Qin. Qin Sheng frowned and said, Then, he asked me about your specific situation. I told him. He said that he also knew the descendant of the Qin family. He went to the Qin family to inquire about it, Master Lu said slowly. After hearing this, Qin Sheng stood up subconsciously. He was shocked. This sentence meant that there were descendants of the Qin family, and they might be his grandfather's descendants. In that case, the truth of his family background would be revealed. He would be able to find his relatives whose blood was thicker than water. Qin Sheng said excitedly, Master Lu, is this true? Master Lu laughed and said, How can I lie to you? I originally wanted to tell you after I got the specific information, but I want you to be mentally prepared, so I told you first. Qin Sheng said excitedly, Master Lu, thank you so much. This news is really unexpected to me. Master Lu said thoughtfully, In fact, not only for you, but also for myself. I want to know the meaning of those oracle bone inscriptions, so that it will not be a pity. Qin Sheng did not listen to what Master Lu said at all. He was immersed in the shock brought by this news. Qin Sheng asked, Master Lu, didn't they say when the news would come? Master Lu stroked his beard and smiled. They didn't say. But don't worry, it should be in a few days. I will inform you once I get the news. At that time, I will go to Beijing with you personally. What do you think? Qin Sheng said happily, That's great. That's great. Qin Sheng did not stay in Maijiawu for long. He drank 2 cups of tea and chatted for a while. Although he was very excited and eager to know everything he had been wanting to know all these years, he could only wait for the news. When Qin Sheng left Maijiawu, Qin Chang'an's private plane had just landed at Hangzhou Shaoshan Airport. Then, he took a private car directly to Maijiawu. Gong Sun had already inquired about Master Lu's specific residence. When he arrived at Maijiawu, it was already 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Master Lu was having dinner. Gong Sun got off the car and knocked on the door. Not long after, two right-hand men came out and asked skillfully, "Excuse me, you are? We are looking for Master Lu?" Gong Sun said in a deep voice. Qin Chang'an was still sitting in the car and was not in a hurry to get off. The right-hand men often met such guests who came because of the fame of Master Lu. But Master Lu was not willing to be disturbed unless it was arranged in advance. So the right-hand man asked, "Do you have an appointment?" "No," Gong Sun said bluntly. The right-hand man said politely, "Sorry, Master Lu is not here." Chapter 232. A presumptuous request the so-called bigwigs all liked to put on airs. Even if they seemed to be low-key, they were actually proud and aloof and always kept a distance from ordinary people. Gong Sun was used to this kind of situation. If Master Lu was not here, they would not ask if he had an appointment. So Gong Sun introduced himself and waited for the notice. Master Lu was just finishing his meal, which was vegetarian and fruit. It was not that he did not eat meat, but to keep fit, his diet was light and regular. After dinner, Master Lu would stroll in the tea garden of Maijiawu, read for a while and rest. Just as he put down the bowl and chopsticks, the doorman ran in hurriedly and said, "Old master, there are guests outside asking to see you." Master Lu frowned slightly. Obviously, ordinary people would not find this place. Acquaintances would definitely make an appointment in advance. So it must be a strange guest. So Master Lu asked, "What guest?" "They claim to be the descendants of the Qin family," the doorman answered respectfully and truthfully. Master Lu was shocked when he heard this. He subconsciously knew who this distinguished guest was. It was definitely not Qin Sheng, who claimed to be the descendants of the Qin family. Moreover, Qin Sheng had just left. So there was only one possibility. This was the descendant of the Qin family mentioned by the eldest master of the Qin family. Thinking of this, Master Lu quickly stood up and said, "Go and invite the distinguished guest in. I will wait in the living room." Master Lu did not expect that the descendant of the Qin family mentioned by the eldest master of the Qin family would come directly to Hangzhou, which meant that Qin Sheng's identity was very important. Secondly, he was excited because this time he might know the meaning of the 4 oracle bone inscriptions. Master Lu stubbornly believed that there must be a deeper meaning. Outside the courtyard, a doorman was guarding at the door. Qin Chang'an was still sitting in the car and did not get out. Gong Sun stood beside him and said in a low voice, "This old man is quite famous in the Yangtze River Delta. But he is too vulgar and mingles with people from all walks of life. There are people who are smooth and slick in every city. Gong Sun, don't be arrogant and look down on the masters in other places after staying in Sijiu City for a long time. Sooner or later, you will suffer losses. Sijiu City has a big structure, but sometimes it is another kind of frog at the bottom of a well," Qin Chang'an said in a neither light nor heavy tone. Gong Sun nodded quickly and said, "Master, I will remember." At this moment, the right-hand man came out. He walked quickly to Gong Sun and replied, "Sorry to keep you waiting. Master Lu wants to see you." "I'm not a distinguished guest. This is the distinguished guest." Gong Sun snorted coldly. He cursed in his heart, "Isn't he not here?" Even when our master went to those rich and powerful mansions in Sijiu City, no one dared to say that he was not here. You, a small old man from Hangzhou, dared to put on airs. After he finished speaking, Gong Sun hurriedly opened the car door. Qin Chang'an got out of the car slowly and raised his head to look at the surrounding scenery. The grass and trees were all green, and there were tea mountains everywhere. It was no wonder that Hangzhou, which was half a mountain and half a lake, was liked by so many people. Under the guidance of the doorman, Qin Chang'an and Gong Sun walked through a long corridor and a small path. In the end, they arrived at the entrance of the main hall of the residence. Gongsun sighed with emotion and said, "This old man really knows how to enjoy life. But this place is really not bad." Qin Chang'an did not say anything. He stepped over the doorsill and entered the main hall directly. At this time, he had already noticed the old man sitting in the main seat. He should be Master Lu, whom Chen Luoha had mentioned. At this time, Master Lu had already stood up to welcome them. He said with a smile, "It's a pleasure to have a friend coming from afar. Please forgive me for neglecting you. Serve tea." Master Lu was very polite. Qin Chang'an also responded respectfully, "I came uninvited. Master Lu, please forgive me. How dare I blame the descendant of old Master Qin? Even if you did not come, I might have to go to Siju City to disturb you later." Both of them were old foxes who were used to the world. The more polite and respectful they were, the more prudent they were. Qin Chang'an chuckled and said, "Master Lu, you are too polite. I am just a secular businessman. In front of Master Lu, who is famous in Jiangnan, I am not a distinguished guest. Please sit down." Master Lu did not exchange conventional greetings. He stretched out his hand and said. The main guest sat down. Gongsun stood next to Qin Chang'an. The doorman served the Longjing tea. Master Lu looked at Qin Chang'an calmly. From his aura, he could tell that this man was not an ordinary person. However, he did not hang around in the circle of Siju City, so he did not know Qin Chang'an's name. "I still don't know the identity of the distinguished guest." Master Lu took the initiative to ask. This was also the most important thing for him. Qin Chang'an said in a deep voice, "Qin Chang'an from the Qin family." "Who is old Master Qin?" Master Lu could not wait to ask. He seemed to have some impression of this name, but he could not remember where he had heard it. Qin Chang'an replied firmly, "My father." Hearing this, Master Lu was directly stunned. He did not expect Qin Chang'an to answer so directly. He asked subconsciously, "What about Qin Xing?" "My son," Qin Chang'an replied without hiding anything. Qin Chang'an was so direct that Master Lu was at a loss. Master Lu stared at Qin Chang'an and did not know what to ask. The atmosphere was a little awkward. "Did Master Chen ask the distinguished guest to look for me?" Master Lu said thoughtfully. However, it seemed that Master Chen did not contact him directly. This was what he did not understand. Qin Chang'an chuckled and said, "Yes and no. Chen Luoha did look for me. But it was my idea to come to see Master Lu." Master Lu frowned. Master Chen had a lot of power in Siju City. This man dared to call Chen Luoha directly. It seemed that his status was higher than Master Chen's. Moreover, he could directly visit him. Qin Chang'an said slowly, "Master Lu, do you have a lot of doubts?" "Yes, indeed." Master Lu nodded and admitted. Qin Chang'an continued, "Master Lu, please dismiss your attendants. I will talk to you in detail. At the same time, I have a presumptuous request. I hope you can do me a favor." Master Lu naturally did not feel threatened by Qin Chang'an. So he directly waved his hand and asked the doorman to leave. In an instant, there were only the three of them in the main hall. Master Lu then asked, "If you say that old Master Qin is your father, I can understand. But I feel a little strange that Qin Xing is your son. Although I have not known Qin Xing for a long time, I have heard about him from him. He said that he was an orphan since he was a child. He depended on his grandfather since he was a child. He never knew other relatives other than his grandfather, let alone who his parents were." Facing Master Lu's question, Qin Chang'an explained slowly, "There are many things that you don't need to know. It involves a lot of grievances from many years ago. Master Lu only needs to know that old Master took Qin Xing away more than 20 years ago. It was not until last year that I found Qin Xing. However, I did not reconcile with him. But I know everything about him now." "Then why don't you reconcile with Qin Xing?" Master Lu asked in confusion. Qin Chang'an smiled happily and said, "This is the Qin family's business. Master Lu, you don't need to worry. Qin Shing is my son. I value him more than anyone else. If Chen Luaha did not find me and told me that Master Lu had information about the descendants of the Qin family, I would have thought that no one knew this secret. My identity is a little special, so I don't want others to know about Qin Shing's family background. He needs to walk his own path slowly." "Well, I can understand," Master Lu said thoughtfully. Now he had also confirmed that the man in front of him was Qin Shing's father, the son of old Master Qin. Secondly, he said that his identity was a little special. Qin Chang'an continued, "So, my presumptuous request is that I hope you can help me hide this news. You can't tell anyone, including Chen Luaha and, of course, Qin Shing." After hearing that, Master Lu was lost in thought. This presumptuous request put him in a difficult position. Originally, I just wanted to help Qin Shing find old Master Chen and let him figure out his family background. Now that the truth has been revealed, I naturally don't need to contact Chen Luaha anymore, Master Lu said slowly. Then he said, "But as for Qin Shing, after all, I promised him." Qin Chang'an continued, "I need time to reconcile with Qin Shing. So I only hope that you can hide it as long as you can. When the time is right, I will inform you and you will tell him the truth. What do you think, Master Lu?" "Well, this is the only way." After weighing the pros and cons, Master Lu made up his mind. After all, this was the Qin family's business. He could not be too involved. Qin Chang'an stood up slowly and said, "Thank you, Master Lu. I owe you a favor. If you need help in the future, you can directly find me." Qin Chang'an said this confidently. After all, he had just praised Master Lu's reputation in the south of the Yangtze River. Now he dared to boast in front of Master Lu. How powerful was he? Although Master Lu felt a little uncomfortable, he still maintained a polite smile. "It's getting late. I won't disturb you anymore. I'll leave first. See you again if fate allows it." Qin Chang'an had said what he wanted to say and there was no need for him to stay. Hearing that Qin Chang'an was leaving, Master Lu quickly stood up and shouted, "Don't worry. Since you are the son of old Master Qin, I still have a request. This is also something that I have wanted to know for many years. I don't want him to regret it." Qin Chang'an said playfully, "I know what you want to ask. Many people have asked me. Unfortunately, I don't know. Compared to asking me, you might as well ask Qin Shing. He might know. After all, he has been with my father for the longest time." Master Lu said with a disappointed look, "He doesn't know either." "Then no one knows," Qin Chang'an said casually, indicating that he could not help. Then he said, "Goodbye." Master Lu, who originally had high hopes, was disappointed again. He sighed in frustration and said, "I won't see you out." "See you out." The two doormen saw Qin Chang'an and Gongsun out of the villa of Maijiao. After Qin Chang'an left, Master Lu finally recovered after a rest. However, he did not give up. He must figure out the meaning of these 4 words. It was not until then that he remembered the name of Qin Chang'an, who had been hanging around in Siju City. If he was really powerful, then someone should know about it. Consequently, he called an old friend in Siju City directly and asked directly, "Do you know Qin Chang'an?" "Qin Chang'an?" the old friend said in shock. A few minutes later, when Master Lu found out Qin Chang'an's specific identity, he was completely stunned. He felt lucky that he had treated Qin Chang'an politely today and had also agreed to his presumptuous request, which made him owe Qin Chang'an a favor. After Qin Chang'an left the villa of Maijiao, he directly called Qin Shing. Since he came to Hangzhou, he must see Qin Shing. The explanation he gave Qin Shing was to visit his old friend in the hospital. Hearing that this uncle came to Hangzhou, Qin Shing was very happy. After all, this uncle was his and Lin Su's old friend in shaman. However, Qin Chang'an said, Hangzhou cuisine is too greasy. I don't like it very much. Qin Xing thought for a while and felt that this old uncle might pay attention to his health and eat light food. Instead of this, it would be better to directly cook at home. Therefore, he told Qin Chang'an to eat at home today. He and Lin Su would cook by themselves. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.